If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 81, Hanzo's Poison. At the northern end of Konoha's main camp in the Land of Rain. Before Natsuki even got close, he smelled a mixture of blood and medicine. He walked in with a normal expression. Inside a large tent, wounded ninjas lay neatly on the carpet. Meanwhile, many medical ninjas were treating them with solemn expressions. Lady Tsunade. Upon seeing Tsunade, the medical ninjas all showed pleasant surprise. This was the trust placed in the ninja world's most outstanding medical ninja. Ignore me and continue your work. Tsunade waved her hand. The poisoned ninjas are in another tent. Jiraiya led the way, passing through the large tent and entering a smaller one. A group of ninjas with pained expressions came into view. Tsunade slowly walked up to the nearest ninja. She crouched down and extended both hands. Delicate illness extraction jutsu. Pale green chakra surged into the ninja's body. The ninja's body trembled, and he immediately let out a miserable scream. Tsunade's expression remained unchanged as she continued to infuse chakra. A moment later, a mass of black liquid flew out of the ninja's body. The ninja's pitch-black face instantly regained a lot of color. Tsunade, you're still the best. Seeing this, Jiraiya couldn't help but praise. His poisoning wasn't deep, so I was able to extract the poison. Tsunade explained. But what if the poisoning is too deep? Jiraiya quickly asked. If the poisoning is too deep, I can only extract a portion. The rest requires an antidote. Tsunade let out a long sigh. But no one has been able to decipher Hanzo's poison to this day. Jiraiya instantly fell silent. The reason Hanzo was so troublesome to deal with was because of his poison. Not only did it have a wide range, but there was also no antidote. Tsunade could be considered the only medical ninja in the ninja world with hope of deciphering his poison. If even she couldn't do it, other medical ninjas had even less of a chance. Of course, Hanzo himself had an antidote. In the original story, he detoxified Mifune. But he definitely wouldn't detoxify Konoha ninjas. Natsuki recalled the plot in the original story. Tsunade indeed never deciphered Hanzo's poison. If she could detoxify it, the battle with Hanzo wouldn't have ended with only her, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru left standing. Natsuki fell into thought. Could he trigger a character template skilled in detoxification? But how to trigger it? By testing the poison on himself? Hanzo's poison was too potent. If he accidentally got poisoned too deeply, it would purely be seeking death. But fighting him? He couldn't beat him either. Were there any ninjas who possessed the same poison as Hanzo but with less toxicity? Natsuki remembered that Hanzo's poison came from a salamander. He had the venom sac of another dead salamander implanted in his body since childhood, so even his exhaled breath was poisonous. To avoid accidentally hurting others, he always wore a gas mask. Theoretically, other ninjas could also implant a salamander venom sac. But judging from the original story, it seemed no such ninja existed. While Natsuki was thinking, Tsunade continued treating the poisoned Konoha ninjas. Time slowly passed. By nightfall, only 5 ninjas remained in the tent. These 5 ninjas were at least Takubutsu Jonin. The reason was simple. Ninjas who could survive fighting Hanzo and getting poisoned naturally wouldn't be weak. But the problem now was that their poisoning was too deep. Tsunade could only extract a portion of the poison. Without an antidote for the remaining poison, it would eventually merge with their bodies, causing them to live in constant pain for the rest of their lives. I can only temporarily slow the spread of the poison in their bodies. Tsunade said with a deep frown. Tsunade, you've already done very well. Jiraiya comforted her. No matter what, we have to try. Tsunade took a deep breath. Prepare a laboratory for me. All right. I'll have someone set it up immediately. It will be ready for you to use tomorrow. Jiraiya said seriously. If Hanzo's poison could be deciphered, Konoha's chances of winning against Omegakure would probably increase by half. You've all worked hard today. Go get some rest. Jiraiya added. Tsunade relaxed her body and instantly felt exhausted. With her strength, continuously detoxifying for more than half a day was also overwhelming. Natsuki, you come with me to the laboratory tomorrow. Tsunade ordered. She didn't want Natsuki to make antidotes but to make red healing potions. Natsuki understood, nodded, and followed her to their arranged accommodations. Upon arriving at Konoha's main camp, he didn't sleep with Tsunade but was assigned a separate tent. It had to be said this was a very regrettable matter. The time came to the next day. Natsuki and Tsunade walked into the laboratory that had been set up overnight. It was very simple, no different from a tent, but the equipment inside was relatively complete. Natsuki, these are the herbs I prepared for the red healing potion. Make them all into red healing potions. Tsunade handed Natsuki a storage summoning scroll. Natsuki nodded. Tsunade walked to another lab bench and began attempting to make an antidote. 3 days flew by. Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki finished making all the red healing potions and called out. Tsunade subconsciously looked at him. Her face was written with exhaustion. For 3 days, she hadn't rested much, constantly researching the antidote. At this time, she hadn't learned the yin seal, so she couldn't keep her body in peak condition at all times. But unfortunately, despite such hard work, she still hadn't made any progress on the antidote. The red healing potions. Natsuki handed her the storage summoning scroll and reminded her. Just give it to Orochimaru. Tsunade snapped back to reality. Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki nodded and added. It's very difficult to successfully create an antidote in a short time. You need to take care of your health. Don't worry. I know my own physical condition. After Tsunade finished speaking, she suddenly let out a soft sound of surprise and stared intently at Natsuki. What's wrong? Natsuki felt baffled. This is the formula for the antidote. Tsunade took out a scroll. But it's incomplete. It only temporarily slows the spread. Teacher Tsunade, do you mean you want me to research it too? Natsuki asked, looking at the scroll in front of him. You were able to invent the blue healing potion and the red healing potion, which means you already meet the conditions for researching the antidote. Tsunade paused. Since you don't have any other missions right now, research it with me. Natsuki's mouth twitched. Of course, he couldn't research the antidote. But he didn't refuse either. What if he could trigger a character template skilled in detoxification later? Another 2 days passed. Early morning. Jiraiya arrived at the makeshift laboratory. As soon as he walked in, he saw Tsunade and Natsuki sleeping on the carpet. The two were leaning against each other. Especially Natsuki, whose head was resting directly on Tsunade's waist. Jiraiya was slightly taken aback. Did they stay up all night? Is there something you need? Tsunade woke up, yawned, and asked. She casually moved Natsuki's head onto her lap. There is one thing. Jiraiya watched with great envy. He wouldn't even dare dream of such treatment. But Natsuki was just a child, so his envy quickly vanished. The ANBU just sent back intel. They discovered an Omegakure stronghold where our captured ninjas are being held. Jiraiya explained. The person in charge of the stronghold is known as Hanzo's right-hand Ibus Kandachi. He is also skilled in using poison. I understand. I'll make a batch of specially crafted antidotes for you right now. Tsunade nodded. I'm going to. Natsuki sat up. Speaking of Ibus Kandachi, he had an impression of him. In the original story, such a character indeed existed. His storyline was related to Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto. After Hanzo's death, Ibus Kandachi left the land of rain, took over a village, and became a bandit. Until one day, he encountered Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto and then there was no after. What are you going for? Tsunade frowned. I have shadow secret jutsu suitable for infiltration and rescue. Natsuki paused. Most importantly, I want to experience Ibus Kandachi's poison and see if I can get any inspiration. His true goal was to see if he could trigger a new character template. After all, in terms of strength, Ibus Kandachi could barely be considered a jonin. He also had some fame in Omegakure. Tsunade was slightly taken aback. Let him come along. Hearing this, Jiraiya immediately said. I promise you, he will definitely return safely. If anything happens to him, I definitely won't let you off. Tsunade glared at Jiraiya but still agreed. Natsuki breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. How many ninjas are participating in this mission? Tsunade stood up. 3 ninja squads. 12 people. Jiraiya replied. Then 2 vials per person. Tsunade nodded and began making them. After finishing, Jiraiya took the antidotes and left the laboratory with Natsuki. The two arrived at the entrance of Konoha's main camp. 12 ninjas were already waiting. Natsuki glanced at them and spotted an acquaintance, Uchiha Mikoto. The ninja squad she was in consisted entirely of Uchiha clan ninjas. Besides that, there was a classic Inoshikacho ninja squad. The last squad wasn't bad either, consisting of a Hyuga clan ninja and an Aberame clan ninja. These 12 ninjas were at least Chunin. 3 of them were Jonin squad leaders. Adding Jiraiya, there were 4 Jonin. Seeing Natsuki, they all felt somewhat confused, but during a mission, they didn't ask too many questions. These are the antidotes made by Tsunade. Jiraiya took out the antidotes. 2 vials per person. If you get poisoned during the mission, drink it immediately. Yes. Uchiha Mikoto and the others answered in unison. Move out. After distributing the antidotes, Jiraiya took the lead and left Konoha's main camp. Chapter 82, Gordon Template, Hanzo's Nemesis. The torrential rain poured down. Wearing a raincoat, Natsuki followed Jiraiya without saying a word. The Land of Rain, as its name suggests, was a country with a lot of rain. It rained all year round. Because of the excessive rain, the architectural style of the Land of Rain was completely different from other countries, giving it the feel of a steel city. With the help of the Hyuga and Aberame clan ninjas, the group arrived at their destination without incident. It was a stronghold located in a valley, but the land surrounding it was a deep, dark black. Whether it was plants or insects, everything had withered and died. Obviously, the ground was covered in highly toxic poison. To enter the stronghold, they had to cross this toxic land first. There are 8 Omegakure ninjas inside the stronghold. The Hyuga clan ninja spoke up. And 16 captured Konoha ninjas. The priority of this mission is to rescue the hostages. Jiraiya said in a deep voice. I will take a team to infiltrate first. Once the rescue is successful, Natsuki will be in charge of the rest to hold off the Omegakure ninjas. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but show surprised expressions. Although they knew Natsuki was Orochimaru's student and very talented, in their view, his strength wasn't enough to be the person in charge. After all, besides Jiraiya, there were 3 other Jonin. Uchiha Mikoto was even more astonished. Could it be that in Jiraiya's view, Natsuki's strength was greater than the 3 Jonin? That's the plan. Jiraiya didn't explain further and selected 4 ninjas skilled in infiltration as teammates to go rescue the hostages with him. This included the Nara clan ninja. This was related to Natsuki. After Natsuki and the Nara clan completed their transaction, many people in the Nara clan had gradually learned Shadow Assassin and Shadow Space. As soon as the Omegakure ninjas make a move, you must stop them immediately. After Jiraiya finished speaking, he led his team toward the stronghold. He put Natsuki in charge not only because Natsuki had previously said he wanted to experience Ibus Kandaki's poison, but also for 2 other reasons. First, he understood Natsuki's true strength, especially that he had defeated Akabino Jinin and Mifune. In terms of strength, the other 3 Jonin were indeed inferior to him. Second, he was doing it out of respect for Orochimaru and Tsunade to give him a boost. After all, the person in charge got the most credit. After Jiraiya and the others left, the remaining 8 people fell into silence. Although none of them said anything, Natsuki could guess what they were thinking. If he performed poorly this time, he would probably be labeled differently. But Natsuki naturally wouldn't give them the chance. Being the person in charge also made it more convenient for him to face Ibus Kandachi directly. Time slowly passed. In less than half an hour, the stronghold became lively. Natsuki immediately activated clairvoyance. He instantly saw Jiraiya and the others escorting the captured Konoha ninjas out. And behind them were the Omegakure ninjas pursuing them. With Jiraiya's strength, he could actually kill them. But he was worried about collateral damage to the captured Konoha ninjas, so he didn't make a move. Leave Ibus Kandachi to me. After Natsuki finished speaking, he took out a projected Kurosawa. Water breathing, 7th form drop ripple thrust. In an instant, the rain falling from the sky seemed to pause as if time had stopped. It only paused for a moment, and then one stream of water after another shot out like long snakes, forming circular ripples in the air. Natsuki disappeared from his spot, dashing forward at super-fast speed. This was precisely the fastest move in water breathing. A miserable scream rang out. The Omegakure ninja closest to Natsuki was directly pierced through by Kurosawa. Seeing this, Uchiha Mikoto and the others felt their hearts jolt. But Kurosawa didn't stop. As blood sprayed out, it aimed at Ibus Kandachi. Ibus Kandachi sensed the crisis. He immediately stopped pursuing Jiraiya and the others and pulled out a black umbrella from his back. Ninja Art, Senbon Shower. The black umbrella opened. Amidst its rotation, a dense barrage of Senbon flew out. Seeing this, Natsuki retreated but let go of Kurosawa. Ibus Kandachi was instantly confused. What kind of Kenjutsu ninja throws their sword directly as a ninja tool? Although puzzled, his hands weren't slow. The black umbrella immediately blocked his front. Clanging sounds rang out. The Senbon hit Kurosawa first, slowing its speed so by the time it finally hit the black umbrella, most of its force had been shaved off. Ibus Kandachi snorted coldly. Just as he was about to swing the black umbrella to knock Kurosawa away, Kurosawa suddenly exploded. A terrifying chakra fluctuation instantly struck the black umbrella. Ibus Kandaki's expression changed drastically. A terrifying force hit him. The black umbrella was torn to pieces in the explosion. His body was also uncontrollably sent flying backward. Uchiha Mikoto and the others fell silent. They completely didn't expect Ibus Kandachi to suffer such a huge loss in their first encounter. The three Jonin, in particular, felt they couldn't have done it either. In that moment, they acknowledged Natsuki as the person in charge. Bastard! Ibus Kandachi stopped his retreat and was instantly furious. Being sneak attacked by a child and falling into a disadvantage was unbearable for him. Ibus Kandachi immediately formed hand seals with both hands. A pungent smell suddenly appeared, followed by a poisonous mist. In the rain, the mist didn't slow down but instead spread instantly. One sword style, 36-pound phoenix. Natsuki took out another projected Kurosawa and swung it directly. A flying slash struck the poisonous mist and exploded immediately. The mist dispersed. Ibus Kandachi and the other Omegakure ninjas also hurriedly dodged. White launcher. Natsuki leaped up. White smoke shot out from beneath him, and he ascended into midair to avoid the poisonous mist. Although he had an antidote, it was better to avoid contact with the mist if possible. After all, it took time to drink the antidote. Water breathing, 8th form waterfall basin. Natsuki slashed downward from above. Water flowed with the sword aura, cascading down like a waterfall. Ibus Kandachi immediately formed hand seals with both hands. A water wall rose in front of him. But he didn't stop. Instead, while retreating, he took out a sickle attached to a chain. Besides poison, Hanzo also had powerful water release and astonishing kenjutsu. But his sword wasn't an ordinary sword, it was a flying sickle, a sickle with a chain. Ibus Kandachi had obviously learned his kenjutsu as well. Natsuki landed. Kurosawa hit the water wall, which immediately trembled violently. Ibus Kandachi swung forcefully. The sickle flew out, aiming directly at Natsuki's head. As it got close, Natsuki noticed the sickle was coated with deadly poison. He gripped Kurosawa and swung it fiercely. Water breathing, 4th form striking tide. Clang! The sickle flew back at an even faster speed. Ibus Kandachi frowned slightly. His wrist flicked rapidly, and the chain rippled, dissipating the force on the sickle. Kenjutsu, Iai slash. He gripped the sickle and disappeared from his spot. In the original story, Hanzo defeated Mifune using Kenjutsu, Iai slash. One sword style, Iai Lion's Song. Natsuki drew his sword with his left hand, taking out yet another Kurosawa. Two blade lights collided. Natsuki and Ibus Kandachi were locked in a stalemate. But right at that moment, Ibus Kandachi grinned sinisterly and opened his mouth. A puff of mist rushed straight toward Natsuki. If it were the old Natsuki, he might not have been able to dodge it. But now, he had Kirigaya Kazuto's reaction speed. Natsuki immediately held his breath and used Shadow Assassin. What's going on? Natsuki's sudden disappearance left Ibus Kandachi unable to retract his force. His body leaned forward. And the Kurosawa Natsuki left in place instantly exploded. Ibus Kandachi's pupils contracted. He instinctively raised his sickle to block. But he could only block part of it. He let out a muffled groan. Many bleeding wounds appeared on his body. Natsuki reappeared. He gripped Kurosawa and leaped up fiercely. Water breathing, 10th form constant flux. The surrounding rainwater was suddenly drawn by his water release chakra. Amidst a roar, a giant water dragon emerged behind him. Ibus Kandachi looked up and saw nothing but blade light in his vision. Natsuki launched a continuous series of rotating slashes in an instant. That water dragon descended from the sky, enveloping Ibus Kandachi. Red blood sprayed outward. Ibus Kandachi fell backward, losing all consciousness. Natsuki let out a breath and put away Kurosawa. He looked around and met the surprised gazes of Uchiha Mikoto and the others. While he was fighting Ibus Kandachi, the others had already dealt with the remaining Omegakure ninjas. He was the last one to finish fighting. And precisely because of this, the others saw his astonishing performance. Especially Jiraiya. He originally thought he understood Natsuki's strength very well, but tonight, more than half of the kenjutsu he used with water breathing were ones he had never seen before. Obviously, Natsuki had created many new kenjutsu again. Coupled with the enhancement of the rainy day, he was able to kill Ibus Kandachi without taking a scratch. Jiraiya now doubted whether Minato could defeat him even after learning the Flying Thunder God technique. Besides Jiraiya, the most shocked was undoubtedly Uchiha Mikoto. When they were at the Ninja Academy, they had sparred several times and overall, they were evenly matched. But the current Natsuki made her feel very unfamiliar and powerful. Uchiha Mikoto felt that right now, the only thing she barely had an advantage in against him was genjutsu. You have awakened the Gordon Agrippa template. A line of text suddenly appeared before Natsuki's eyes. His spirit jolted. As expected, he triggered a new character template. But who is Gordon? In Natsuki's impression, Gordon was the Gordon from Gotham City. Thinking this, he looked at his newly acquired character template. Name, Gordon Agrippa. Period, Elf Reincarnation Arc. World, Black Clover. Rank, B rank. Ability 1, Forbidden Fruit Unlocked Effect, condense liquid poison masses in both hands, dealing corrosive damage to the target. Ability 2, Dwelling of the Poison Cloud Locked Effect, release a large-scale poison cloud, dealing corrosive damage. Unlock condition, poison 10 targets at once. Ability 3, Violet Umbrella Locked Effect, generate a liquid barrier that can defend against attacks and corrode targets that come into contact with it. Unlock condition, learn Water Release, Water Formation Wall. Ability 4, Curse Breaking Poison Recipe Locked Effect, can cure the vast majority of magical poisons, curse poisons, biological poisons, chemical poisons, and miasma poisons. Unlock condition, successfully concoct it once according to the formula. Ability 5, Poison to Medicine Conversion Locked Effect, convert absorbed poison gas into medical ninjutsu, capable of healing one's own injuries. Unlock condition, fight poison with poison, save 3 jonin using poison magic. After reading it, Natsuki remembered Gordon Agrippa. He was a member of the Black Bulls in Black Clover, skilled in poison magic and curse magic. During the elf reincarnation arc, he once saved his possessed partner, Gosh Adley. Natsuki felt it was his action of saving the captured Konoha ninjas that triggered the Gordon Agrippa template. It had to be said the Gordon Agrippa template came at the perfect time. Although it was B rank, it was highly effective against Hanzo. Ability 1, Forbidden Fruit. The poison magic the Gordon Agrippa template excelled in could deal corrosive damage. Placed in Naruto, it could only be considered passable. Because the Gordon Agrippa template was B rank. This meant his poison magic was equivalent to B rank ninjutsu in Naruto, which was pretty good against some genin and chunin. Ability 2, Dwelling of the Poison Cloud. It was equivalent to an AoE version of Forbidden Fruit, useful for clearing out mob enemies. The unlock condition wasn't very difficult either, poison 10 targets at once. There were no restrictions on the 10 targets. He just needed to casually cast it during a group battle, and it would probably unlock. Ability 3, Violet Umbrella. Compared to the first 2 abilities, this ability was more useful, being capable of both offense and defense. It was equivalent to a water release, water formation wall infused with poison. And its requirement was to learn water release, water formation wall. Natsuki had already learned water release chakra nature transformation up to the 2nd stage, so learning water release, water formation wall wouldn't be particularly difficult. Ability 4, Curse Breaking Poison Recipe. This was undoubtedly the ability Natsuki wanted the most, as it could solve an urgent problem. One of its effects was curing biological poisons. And Hanzo's poison was a biological poison, as it came from the venom of the summoning beast, the salamander. Of course, whether it could cure it or not would only be known after he concocted it. Its unlock condition was the same as the previous Enphyria template, successfully concoct it to unlock it. But this formula was very troublesome. He probably wouldn't be able to concoct it in a short time. However, Natsuki also felt this was reasonable. Hanzo's poison was unrivaled in the ninja world, and even Tsunade couldn't do anything about it. If he could easily concoct an antidote, it would actually be unreasonable. Actually, Natsuki would have been very satisfied if it ended there, but he didn't expect there to be a heaven-defying ability 5, poison to medicine conversion. It completely countered Hanzo and the salamander's poison. Because after unlocking it, Natsuki could convert poison into medicine to heal himself. Its unlock condition was quite troublesome. He had to save 3 Jonin using poison magic. Poison magic was undoubtedly ability 1, ability 2, and ability 3. Using 3 B-rank ninjutsu to save 3 Jonin would still be very difficult. But no matter how difficult, he had to do it. After all, as Orochimaru's student, Natsuki would face Hanzo sooner or later. When the time came and he inhaled Hanzo's poison right in front of him, Hanzo's brain would probably crash. But fortunately, it was saving, not defeating. Natsuki, why did you suddenly space out? Jiraiya walked up. The mission is over. Let's hurry up and evacuate before Megakure reinforcements arrive. I suddenly had some ideas about the antidote. Natsuki replied. Ah! Jiraiya was instantly stunned. Although Natsuki had previously said he wanted to fight Ibus Kandachi for inspiration, he hadn't believed it at all. How could it be that simple? If it were that simple, Hanzo's poison wouldn't have stumped all the medical ninjas in the ninja world. But as it turned out, he really did get inspiration. Jiraiya wanted to say something but stopped, not knowing how to complain for a moment. Chapter 83, Hanzo's Kenjutsu. Natsuki's group successfully returned to Konoha's main camp in the Land of Rain. Natsuki, go find Tsunade directly. Jiraiya instructed. Although Natsuki said he already had inspiration, Jiraiya didn't ask further because he didn't know how to make antidotes. All right. Natsuki nodded. He greeted Uchiha Mikoto again, then turned and went to the laboratory where Tsunade was. Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki walked in. Is the mission complete? Tsunade looked him up and down. After confirming he wasn't injured, she nodded slightly. Very smoothly. We've rescued the captured Konoha ninjas. Natsuki paused and added. While fighting Ibus Kandachi, I suddenly had some ideas. What ideas? Tsunade was slightly taken aback and couldn't help but ask. She had the same thought as Jiraiya, not expecting Natsuki to really get inspiration from going out. But inspiration was just inspiration. Whether it would be useful for the antidote was still unknown. Fight poison with poison. Natsuki replied. The curse-breaking poison recipe provided by the Gordon template was essentially a combination of deadly poisons. In Black Clover, it also required curse magic and poison magic. After localization, curse magic and poison magic were removed, leaving only 7 deadly poisons. You mean find a poison comparable to Hanzo's poison? Tsunade shook her head. Such a deadly poison doesn't exist in the ninja world. Fighting poison with poison wasn't a new concept to her. Simply put, although some herbs were poisonous, when neutralized with other herbs, they could be used to save lives. We can mix multiple poisons together. Natsuki changed the subject. I think this is a train of thought we can try. It is indeed a feasible train of thought, but it takes a lot of time. Tsunade rubbed her temples. There are many poisons in the ninja world. We have to test which ones and how many are needed. There's no other way. Natsuki comforted her. Deciphering Hanzo's poison was never something that could be done in a short time. Although he already knew the formula, it wouldn't be good to directly tell Tsunade. Besides that, these 7 deadly poisons still needed to be refined, and 3 of them were synthetic poisons. The most troublesome poison was even related to Chiyo's poison. Tsunade sighed. It seems it's time to return to Konoha. The conditions in this laboratory are too rudimentary for poison testing. Natsuki nodded. He had been in the Land of Rain for almost a week. Overall, the harvest was good. Not only did he unlock Kirito's reaction speed, but he also awakened the Gordon template, which was a special counter to Hanzo. In a sense, it was also a special counter to Cho and other puppet masters. Of course, the strength of Hanzo, Cho, and the others didn't entirely come from poison. It just meant that without poison, their strength would be greatly reduced. Without further ado, let's go see Orochimaru right now. Tsunade ended her experiment and walked out. All her antidote experiments recently had yielded no results, which was why she agreed to Natsuki's fight poison with poison experiment. Seeing Tsunade and Natsuki, Orochimaru waved his hand, dismissing the other ninjas in the main tent. Orochimaru. Tsunade got straight to the point. It will be very difficult to make progress on Hanzo's poison in the short term. We plan to return to Konoha to continue our research. All right. Orochimaru nodded. Those critically injured ninjas can't be delayed any longer either. You two will escort them back. As the battlefield commander, he kept track of Tsunade's daily progress on the antidote, so he knew she was telling the truth. Teacher. Natsuki suddenly thought of something. Did you extract memories from Ibus Kandaki's corpse? Jiraiya is doing that right now. There should be results soon. Orochimaru replied. Maybe he has the formula for the antidote in his memories. Natsuki guessed. I doubt it. Tsunade shook her head. Poison is too important to Omegakure. Hanzo wouldn't let a second person know the formula for the antidote. Natsuki actually thought so too. But his main goal wasn't the formula for the antidote. Not long after, Jiraiya walked in. Any valuable intel? Orochimaru took the initiative to ask. We found out the locations of some Omegakure outposts, which will be of great help in the upcoming battles. Jiraiya smiled. This rescue mission was very worthwhile. No formula for the antidote? Tsunade asked. No. Jiraiya said regretfully. Then what about Hanzo's kenjutsu? Natsuki blinked. There is indeed a set of kenjutsu in his memories. Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then handed him a scroll, saying carelessly. His kenjutsu is right here. Thank you, Lord Jiraiya. Natsuki took the scroll, secretly thinking he was one step closer to mastering 6 kenjutsu styles of the ninja world. Although Hanzo's kenjutsu is not bad, it's not a conventional kenjutsu and doesn't fit your style. Orochimaru commented. Besides that, the reason his kenjutsu is troublesome is because both he and his sword are highly toxic. Fighting a kenjutsu ninja who was entirely toxic in close combat was scalp-tingling just to think about. I just want to use it as a reference. Natsuki explained. I might encounter Hanzo in the future. Orochimaru didn't say anything more. This matter is temporarily concluded. We will return to Konoha right now. Tsunade said with swift and decisive action. Ah? Jiraiya asked in surprise. You are leaving? Natsuki proposed a fight poison with poison approach. We need to return to Konoha to have the conditions to research it. Tsunade explained. Fight poison with poison. Jiraiya took a deep breath. All right then. I'll see you off. I hope you can develop an antidote soon. Tsunade nodded. After leaving the main tent, Jiraiya immediately made arrangements. Natsuki stood in place, thought for a moment, and didn't go to say goodbye to Uchiha Mikoto. It was wartime now, so there was nothing to say and they would definitely meet again in the Land of Rain before long. Once all the wounded were loaded onto stretchers, Tsunade and the others headed toward Konoha. Jiraiya escorted them out of the Land of Rain before stopping. Perhaps because of this, the group's return journey was quite smooth without encountering any Omegakure or Tsunagakure ninjas. Take them to the Konoha hospital. Natsuki and I will go to the Hokage's office. Upon arriving at Konoha, Tsunade ordered. Yes, Lady Tsunade. The other ninjas responded and left with the wounded. Tsunade and Natsuki quickly arrived at the Hokage's office. After getting permission, the two walked in. Tsunade immediately recounted what had happened over the past few days. You have done very well. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded and praised. As for Hanzo's poison, it's best if we can decipher it but don't force it if we can't. I understand. Tsunade knew Sarutobi Hiruzen was worried she would get fixated on deciphering the poison, spending a massive amount of time only to find the loss outweighed the gain. But you can try Natsuki's approach when you have time. Sarutobi Hiruzen added. If there are any poisons that are hard to find, you can ask ANBU for help. Okay. Tsunade didn't refuse. With the village's help, the fight poison with poison experiment would be more likely to succeed. After all, a village's resources were vast. Natsuki killed Ibus Kandachi during this mission, which is a great contribution. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled. You can ask for a reward, or you can save the merit for now. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Natsuki immediately replied. I don't know what reward I want for now, so I'll save it. After the mission report ended, the two returned to Uzumaki Mito's residence. You're finally back. Seeing them, Noeki instantly became excited. Natsuki. Kushina jogged up to Natsuki. Nono was a step slower and could only follow behind her. Tsunade smiled, not minding the two little girls ignoring her. Did you encounter Hanzo when you went to the land of rain this time? Noeki asked curiously. I heard his strength is very great, not inferior to the cage of the 5 great villages. We didn't encounter him. Natsuki shook his head. But his poison is indeed very formidable. There's currently no way to decipher it. Sister, even you can't decipher it. Hearing this, Noeki turned to look at Tsunade with a face full of surprise. Your sister isn't omnipotent. Tsunade flicked his forehead. You guys chat. I'm going to the Konoha hospital. I have some things to do. Natsuki, quickly tell us about this mission. Kushina said, looking very interested. I've never even been to the land of rain. Natsuki chuckled and gave them a rough overview of the mission process. Does it rain every day? Kushina frowned. That sounds hard to accept. Raining occasionally was fine, but raining every day was indeed annoying. Being able to defeat so many enemies is really amazing. Noeki said enviously. It's fine. In one more semester, we'll become official ninjas. Natsuki smiled. When that time comes, it'll be hard for you not to go out on missions. I hope you guys will be my teammates. Kushina said with an expectant face. Noeki wanted to say something but ultimately said nothing. As the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, Kushina would most likely not be allowed to have teammates. After chatting for a while, everyone resumed their training. Although winter vacation was half over, there was still half left. Natsuki planned to learn Hanzo's Kenjutsu and water release, water formation wall. He formed hand seals and created a shadow clone. The shadow clone went to find Noeki to learn water release, water formation wall. He, on the other hand, opened the scroll Jiraiya had given him. Hanzo's Kenjutsu and Mifune's Kenjutsu were actually somewhat similar, both focusing on speed. The only difference was that the sword he used was a sickle with a chain. Natsuki had seen Ibus Kandaki's sickle before, so he could project it. Besides, he was only learning Hanzo's Kenjutsu to meet the character template unlock condition. He definitely wouldn't use it in combat. Chapter 84, Ninja Academy Graduation. A new day. Natsuki and Nono arrived at the Konoha hospital. They walked into the laboratory and saw Tsunade busy at work. Natsuki's gaze moved downward and noticed 5 test tubes on the lab bench. They contained liquids of different colors, possessing a strange beauty. These are the 5 most toxic poisons currently available in Konoha. Tsunade introduced. I've already asked ANBU to help collect poisons from outside Konoha. Then what will Nono and I do? Natsuki nodded. Permutations and combinations to formulate the antidote. Tsunade raised her hand, pointed to a test tube nearby. It will be considered a success if it reacts with the extracted poison of Hanzo. Understood. After Natsuki finished speaking, he and Nono began to put on anti-poison equipment. Having you participate is mainly for you to learn and accumulate experience. Tsunade looked at them. You can't fall behind on your training either. From now on, you'll make the antidote with me in the mornings. Natsuki and Nono nodded simultaneously. Winter vacation quickly drew to a close amidst making antidotes and training. Time advanced to January. The 3rd semester of Class 4A, which was also the final semester, officially began. Natsuki, Kushina, Minato, and Nono all planned to apply for early graduation. Then they could form a team with Noeki's Class 6A. Registration Day. The Ninja Academy, after being silent for a winter vacation, became lively again. Minato. After Natsuki entered the Ninja Academy, he saw a familiar figure. Natsuki, Kushina, long time no see. Minato turned around and greeted them with a face full of smiles. Nono didn't come to register with them. She went to the medical ninja training class at the Konoha hospital. I feel like I haven't seen you in a month or two. What have you been doing recently? Kushina asked curiously. Learning the 2nd Hokage's Flying Thunder God technique from Lord Hokage. Minato thought for a moment and answered without hiding anything. Kushina instantly showed an expression of surprise. Although she wasn't a native of Konoha, she had heard Ishida Yu talk about Senju Tobirama's deeds during class. Among them, it was mentioned that Senju Tobirama's most iconic ninjutsu, besides water release, was the Flying Thunder God technique. This was a rare space-time ninjutsu. As long as it involved time and space, it was bound to be quite extraordinary. Unfortunately, the difficulty is too high. I still haven't grasped the basics. Minato sighed. After all, it's an S-rank ninjutsu in terms of learning difficulty. Natsuki smiled. The hardship now is for the future. Once you learn the Flying Thunder God technique, your strength will definitely skyrocket. Minato nodded. At the same time, he was also slightly surprised. Because Natsuki was very calm. Even knowing he was learning the Flying Thunder God technique, his expression didn't change much. Was he confident that even if Minato learned the Flying Thunder God technique, he still couldn't defeat him? For a moment, Minato actually felt pressured. But no matter what, he had to learn the Flying Thunder God technique first. After all, if he didn't learn it, he truly wouldn't be able to defeat him. After the three finished registering, they parted ways. Minato went to find Sarutobi Hiruzen. Kushina went to find Uzumaki Mito. Natsuki, on the other hand, went to the Konoha hospital to make antidotes with Tsunade. After half a month of hard work plus his hints, Tsunade had successfully discovered 2 effective poisons. However, they were still far from success. But with enough time, there was still great hope. The most troublesome poison was from Chiyo's puppets. But whether it was the most troublesome wasn't certain. Currently, Konoha and Tsunagakure were at war. Sooner or later, the scale of the war would escalate. When the time came, the battle of poisoning and detoxifying between Cho and Tsunade would occur just like in the original story. Obtaining the puppet poison created by Cho would be very easy then. Life after school started didn't change much. Natsuki still formulated antidotes in the morning and practiced Hanzo's Kenjutsu and learned water release, water formation while in the afternoon. Time finally entered March. The Ninja Academy welcomed graduation season. Class 4A. After all the morning classes ended, Ishida Yu didn't leave. As was customary, he had an announcement to make. Students, after the final exams, you will advance to the 5th year, and the 6th year students will have their graduation exams. Ishida Yu said slowly. If anyone among you wants to apply to take the graduation exam early, please raise your hand. After speaking, he looked at Natsuki and Minato. In his view, they could have applied for early graduation long ago. Their strength was sufficient even in their 2nd or 3rd year. But they never applied. Just as he thought they wouldn't apply, Natsuki and Minato raised their hands. The classroom fell silent. Followed by discussions, but no one was surprised, including Onodera. They all felt Natsuki and Minato were fully qualified to take the graduation exam. More accurately, they were surprised they applied for early graduation so late. Just Natsuki and Minato. Ishida Yu nodded and asked again. Teacher. Natsuki raised his hand again. There's also Kushina and Nono. Although Kushina and Nono rarely came to class anymore, they were ultimately still students of Class 4A. Ishida Yu had expected this and was very calm. Right at that moment, an unexpected little girl raised her hand, Uzumaki K. Natsuki and Minato exchanged a glance, both somewhat surprised. K, are you sure you want to apply for early graduation? Ishida Yu couldn't help but ask. I'm sure. Uzumaki K nodded. I want to be teammates with Kushina. I will apply to Lord Hokage for you. Whether it's approved depends on Lord Hokage's arrangements. Ishida Yu didn't refuse upon hearing this. Although Uzumaki K was a transfer student, her strength wasn't bad. Passing the graduation exam would be absolutely no problem for her. Is anyone else applying? Ishida Yu asked for final confirmation. Onodera hesitated for a moment and ultimately chose to give up. If he took the graduation exam, the probability of passing was actually very high. But he wanted to get first place once before graduating. After all, for so many years, he had been continuously beaten down by Natsuki and Minato. Class dismissed. Seeing no other hands raised, Ishida Yu turned and left the Class 4A classroom. He didn't return to his office but went straight to the Hokage's office. Lord Hokage. Ishida Yu knocked on the door and walked in. Is someone applying for early graduation? Sarutobi Hiruzen's thoughts stirred. Since the establishment of the Ninja Academy, squad assignments had been the responsibility of the Hokage. Because squad assignments involved many bonds and interests and could even impact Konoha. For example, his 3 students, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. Now that it was graduation season, Ishida Yu coming over could only be about early graduation. And in Class 4A taught by Ishida Yu, there were Natsuki, Minato, Kushina, and Nono. Yes, Lord Hokage. Ishida Yu immediately stated that Natsuki and the others were applying for early graduation. And an extra Uzumaki K. Sarutobi Hiruzen tapped the Hokage's desk. I approve. Notify them to attend the graduation exam on time. Yes, Lord Hokage. Ishida Yu bowed slightly, turned, and left. Go call Tsunade. Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered for a moment. Yes, Lord Hokage. An ANBU ninja appeared and quickly disappeared again. What do you need me for? Before long, Tsunade pushed open the door and walked into the Hokage's office. She had been at the Konoha hospital recently, so she arrived very quickly. Natsuki and the others applied for early graduation. I plan to put Natsuki, Noeki, and Nono in one squad. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled. Will you be their Jonin instructor, or will Orochimaru be their Jonin instructor? Tsunade instantly fell into thought. Given her and Orochimaru's relationship as teammates, whoever became the Jonin instructor was actually about the same. But about the same didn't mean there was no difference. Let Orochimaru be their Jonin instructor. Tsunade finally made her decision. Although Nono was more suited to be her student, it was better for Natsuki and Noeki to follow Orochimaru. Besides, those two had long become Orochimaru's students, having learned many kenjutsu and ninjutsu. If Tsunade stole those two from him, Orochimaru might fall out with her. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly. Tsunade's answer was within his expectations. In fact, he was also more inclined to have Orochimaru be their Jonin instructor. After all, they had already established a good bond. Sarutobi Hiruzen understood Orochimaru very well. Unlike Tsunade and Jiraiya, he usually appeared more gloomy. Such a personality could easily lead to problems. But with Noeki and Natsuki around, their personalities could neutralize his, preventing Orochimaru from making wrong choices. What about you? Do you want to be a Jonin instructor? Orochimaru and Jiraiya will both be Jonin instructors. Sarutobi Hiruzen added. The students graduating this year have pretty good strength. No need. I don't have that much time. Tsunade refused. Although I won't lead a squad, I can take Nono as my student. Since you put it that way, I won't force you. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused. Any progress on the antidote? Some, but not much. Tsunade shook her head. It's fine. Any progress is better than none. Sarutobi Hiruzen said open-mindedly. He didn't have much confidence that Tsunade could create the antidote, but if she really succeeded, it would be an unexpected pleasant surprise. In the afternoon, Tsunade arrived at Uzumaki Mito's residence and told Natsuki and the others about this. Wait. Kushina noticed something was wrong and hurriedly asked. What about me? Kushina, you won't be assigned teammates for now. Tsunade explained. Wait until you've learned sealing jutsu. But. Kushina subconsciously looked at Natsuki. Even though we've graduated, when we don't have missions, we can still train together. It's no different from usual. Natsuki comforted her. All right. Kushina nodded in disappointment. Once you've learned sealing jutsu and want to go out on missions, you can go with Natsuki and the others. Seeing this, Tsunade spoke up. Although Konoha ninja squads consisted of 4 people, some missions required multiple ninja squads to execute together. In a sense, Tsunade wasn't lying to Kushina. Hearing this, Kushina's mood improved considerably. Chapter 85, Squad Assignments and the First Hokage's Necklace. Friday morning. Still deep in sleep, Natsuki heard Noeki's voice. He instinctively sat up and glanced at the window. The sky was just beginning to lighten. Natsuki changed his clothes and left the room. Good morning, Natsuki. Seeing him in the living room, Kushina greeted him with a face full of smiles. Sitting next to her was her friend, Uzumaki K. Why are you 4 here so early today? Natsuki asked, confused. Noeki said he wanted to come over and eat the breakfast you make. Kushina replied immediately. It was clearly. Noeki only managed to say 3 words before receiving a warning glare from Kushina. He stopped immediately and nodded vigorously at Natsuki. Natsuki couldn't help but smile. Blink if you're being threatened. Right at that moment, Nono walked out of her room. Noeki's voice was very loud just now, so she woke up too. But even if Noeki and Kushina hadn't come, she and Natsuki would have woken up soon anyway. As ninjas, with few exceptions, none of them slept in. What do you guys want for breakfast? Natsuki glanced at Nono. Ramen. Kushina said immediately. Anything is fine. Naoki and Uzumaki said in unison. Me too. Minato followed closely. Then ramen it is. Natsuki nodded, turned, and walked into the kitchen. Soon, the six of them gathered around the dining table in the living room. I wonder if Kei will be teammates with Minato. Kushina took a sip of ramen broth and said with narrowed eyes. Previously, Tsunade only told them that Natsuki, Naoki, and Nono would be teammates but didn't mention Minato and Uzumaki. It's highly likely. Natsuki nodded. Kei's strength is not bad, and she's in the same class as Minato. She'll probably be prioritized for his team. Of course, there was another reason he didn't mention. He felt Sarutobi Hiruzen would treat Uzumaki as a backup Nine-Tails Jinchuriki for Kushina. After all, besides Kushina, she had the highest talent among the Uzumaki clan members in Konoha. Making her a ninja of the Hokage's faction would be even more beneficial for establishing a bond with her. I have no objections. Minato said carelessly. He actually wanted to be teammates with Natsuki and Naoki, because he had the best relationship with them. But the overall situation was already decided, so he could only settle for the next best thing and team up with Uzumaki. At least with her strength, she wouldn't hold him back. Could the remaining teammate be from our class? Naoki looked up. Are there any geniuses in your class besides you? Natsuki asked with some curiosity. In class 6A, he only knew Naoki. In front of you, they can't be considered geniuses at all. Naoki paused. But there are a few whose strength is pretty good. They'll definitely pass the graduation exam. It's fine. Minato smiled. We'll know who it is soon enough. After the graduation exam ended, the squad assignments would be announced. After breakfast, the group arrived at the Class 6A classroom. There weren't many students in the Ninja Academy who could graduate early. This year, it was only Natsuki and a few others, so they were arranged to take the graduation exam together with the Class 6A students. Their arrival sparked a lot of discussion. But Natsuki and the others didn't take the initiative to get to know them. The reason was simple. Many of the students here might not graduate. Even if they did, they might be sent back by their Jonin instructors. For example, Hitaki Kakashi. Before becoming the Jonin instructor for Team 7, he sent many graduated genin back to the Ninja Academy. Of course, willful Jonin instructors like Hitaki Kakashi were relatively rare. At 9 a.m., a young ninja walked into the classroom. He was the teacher of Class 6A and also the examiner for this graduation exam. When your name is called, go to the classroom next door to take the graduation exam. The young ninja said. The content of the exam is to randomly draw one of the 3 basic jutsu. After he finished speaking, he went to the classroom next door. The graduation exam officially began. While waiting, Natsuki looked at a line of text before his eyes. Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Gordon Template Ability 3, Violet Umbrella. This was the result of his hard work this semester, learning Water Release, Water Formation Wall. Besides that, he also mastered Hanzo's Kenjutsu. He was only one Kenjutsu style short of unlocking Ability 4 of the Sasaki Kojiro template. Natsuki planned to make another trip to the Land of Iron when he had time. He intended to use Hanzo's Kenjutsu to exchange for Mifune's Kenjutsu. Just a month ago, Hanzo led a sneak attack on the Land of Iron and fought a battle with Mifune. Just like the result in the original story, Mifune lost to Hanzo. Fortunately, Jiraiya brought reinforcements in time, sparing the Land of Iron from disaster. Uzumaki Kushina. The young ninja's voice rang out. Do your best. Naoki clenched his fists. I'll definitely get a perfect score. Kushina said with full confidence. She could even learn sealing jutsu, let alone the 3 basic jutsu. It wouldn't stump her at all. A special dead last case like Uzumaki Naruto was truly rare. In less than 5 minutes, Kushina returned. She said with a face full of smiles. Perfect score. As expected of you. Naoki gave a thumbs up. I have to get a perfect score too. Kushina looked at Natsuki. Very impressive. Natsuki praised. Kushina instantly became even happier. Yakushi Nono. The young ninja's voice rang out again. Natsuki looked at Nono and nodded. As a medical ninja, the 3 basic jutsu posed no difficulty for her either. Soon, it was Natsuki's turn. He stood up and went to the classroom next door. There were 2 examiners for the graduation exam, but he didn't know either of them. He walked forward and drew the transformation jutsu. Natsuki inexplicably thought of the sexy jutsu from the Uzumaki Naruto template. But if he used the sexy jutsu here, his lifelong reputation would be ruined and even Orochimaru's reputation would be affected. Natsuki formed hand seals and used the transformation jutsu. His appearance shifted, transforming into Naoki. Perfect. The young ninja took a couple of glances. Congratulations on passing the exam and becoming an official ninja. Thank you. Natsuki dispelled the transformation jutsu and left the classroom. How was it? Naoki asked impatiently. How else could it be? Kushina said without hesitation. Natsuki definitely got a perfect score. I drew the transformation jutsu. It was pretty simple. Natsuki nodded and said casually. Are you saying the substitution jutsu and clone jutsu would be difficult for you? Naoki complained. Namikaze Minato. The young ninja's voice timely interrupted their chat. Time slowly passed, and the graduation exam came to a close. Many ninjas appeared outside the classroom. They were the Jonin instructors selected by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Natsuki saw Tsunade and Jiraiya. As the battlefield commander, Orochimaru couldn't leave the land of rain, so Tsunade would temporarily take his place. I will now announce the squad assignments. Team 1, Natsuki, Naoki, and Yakushi Nono. The young ninja picked up the squad assignment list and read. The Jonin instructor is Orochimaru. Besides Nono, Natsuki, and Naoki were very famous in the Ninja Academy. Although the Class 6A students were surprised, it wasn't by much. The young ninja, however, felt very emotional. Because he knew very well the value of this Team 1. Perhaps a new Konoha Sunin would emerge. But the value of Team 2 wasn't bad either. Team 2, Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kei, and Inuzuka Suzume. The young man said in a deep voice. The Jonin instructor is Jiraiya. As his voice fell, a commotion broke out in the classroom. Who is Inuzuka Suzume? Naoki scratched his head. She's not a student in our class. Could it be a student from another class? Kushina guessed. No. Minato pondered for a moment. Her name didn't appear among the students taking the exam. Indeed. Natsuki nodded. I didn't hear her name called either. She is a student of the medical ninja training class. Nono suddenly spoke up. In our medical ninja training class, she ranks second. I see. A look of realization appeared on Naoki's face, and he asked curiously. Who is first? Who do you think? Natsuki glanced at him. How would I know? Oh, it's Nono. Naoki finally realized the problem and smiled embarrassedly. Why didn't she come to take the graduation exam? Kushina asked, confused. Students of the medical ninja training class originally don't need to come take the graduation exam. Natsuki explained. Nono is an exception. No wonder. Kushina nodded. Let's go find our Jonin instructors. Natsuki stood up. The group left the classroom and arrived in front of Tsunade and Jiraiya. After exchanging pleasantries, Jiraiya took Minato and Uzumaki Kei away. They still had to go to the Konoha hospital to find Inuzuka Suzume. Congratulations on your successful graduation. Tsunade looked at Natsuki's group of 4 and smiled. Sister, I heard there's some kind of bell-snatching test. Naoki asked impatiently. There is, but it's unnecessary. I know your strength very well. Tsunade said casually. Self-introductions are also waived, since I already know your situations. Sister, you're being so perfunctory. Naoki said with some dissatisfaction. I prepared a gift for you. Tsunade reached out and took off the first Hokage's necklace she was wearing. Sister, you're giving me grandfather's necklace. Naoki instantly became excited. Haven't you always wanted it? Tsunade handed it to him and said with a serious blessing. Naoki, I hope you become a Hokage as strong as grandfather soon. Thank you, sister. Naoki took the first Hokage's necklace and said with a face full of excitement. Natsuki glanced at the first Hokage's necklace, feeling a subtle sensation in his heart. In the original story, the first Hokage's necklace was known as the Necklace of Death. Whoever took it died, even Uzumaki Naruto died once. Fortunately, the forehead kiss from the original story didn't happen. Otherwise, with double the death flags, Natsuki couldn't guarantee whether Naoki would survive. Chapter 86, Mifune-style Kenjutsu. Early the next morning. Natsuki and Nono arrived at the first training ground. This was the first gathering of their ninja squad, Team 1. Because they were already so familiar with each other, Tsunade directly skipped the usual first meeting introductions yesterday. You look a bit worried. Natsuki turned to look at Nono. Her small face lacked its usual gentleness and looked tense. I'm afraid of holding you guys back. Nono hesitated for a moment and voiced her thoughts. Why would you think that? Natsuki smiled. Among our peers, no one is better at medical ninjutsu than you. I only know medical ninjutsu. Nono lowered her head. If a battle breaks out, I'll have to rely on you guys for protection. Natsuki was slightly taken aback. This was indeed the awkward situation medical ninjas faced in a ninja squad. Although medical ninjas were important, the fact remained that they lacked combat ability. If the other two teammates weren't strong enough, adding a medical ninja teammate would actually lower the squad's overall strength. Thinking about it carefully, this was probably one of the reasons why Tsunade's proposal to mandate a medical ninja in every squad was rejected in the original story. Have you forgotten who your teacher is now? Natsuki reminded her. You can ask teacher Tsunade to teach you taijutsu later. Although Tsunade had already taught Nono a lot of medical ninjutsu, that was in the medical ninja training class. Even though they were both teachers, a jonin instructor and a medical ninja training class teacher were completely different concepts. It was different now. Tsunade had explicitly stated yesterday that Nono was her student. Nono was stunned for a moment, then broke into a smile. Tsunade was a rare medical ninja who possessed combat ability. As her student, she could also learn taijutsu from her and then she wouldn't be a burden to Natsuki and Noeki. You just overthink things. Natsuki patted her hair. Nono kept her head down, letting him do as he pleased. Natsuki. Nono. Not long after, Noeki's enthusiastic voice rang out. Tsunade came with him. Kushina didn't come. She wasn't a member of Team 1, and with Uzumaki Mito's condition worsening, she had to make the most of her time. Natsuki estimated that Uzumaki Mito would have a hard time surviving this year. Teacher. After greeting her, Nono got straight to business. I want to learn taijutsu. Even if you didn't bring it up, I would have made you learn it. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then smiled. I feel like our squad is terrifyingly well-rounded. Hearing this, Noeki immediately said. We have everything we need. Combat and medical support went without saying. For sensory abilities, they had his and Natsuki's summoning beasts. Of course, what he didn't know was that Natsuki also had clairvoyance and there is only one truth. For crowd control, Natsuki knew 2 genjutsu and had the Logia-type plume fruit. Once Nono learned taijutsu, their last weakness would be covered. The biggest weakness of your squad is your reckless personality. Tsunade rolled her eyes at him. Noeki smiled awkwardly but couldn't refute it. Alright, since everyone is here, let's begin Team 1's first mission. Tsunade clapped her hands. What rank is the mission? Noeki immediately asked. Is it A rank? Or S rank? It's a D rank. Tsunade replied. Ah. Noeki widened his eyes. With our strength, do we still need to do D rank missions? You had to know that even before they graduated, they had completed many high-rank missions with Orochimaru and Tsunade. Now that they'd graduated, they were doing low-rank missions instead. What was the point of graduating? What? Tsunade asked in return. Do you not want to participate in the Chunin exams? What do D-rank missions have to do with the Chunin exams? Noeki was baffled. Natsuki, you tell him. Tsunade didn't answer directly but called on Natsuki instead. A prerequisite for participating in the Chunin exams is having completed a sufficient number of missions. Natsuki said slowly. This includes a significant number of low-rank missions. Why is there such a rule? Noeki's mouth twitched. As a ninja, you cannot be picky. No matter what mission you accept, you must complete it seriously. Tsunade raised her hand, flicked his forehead. Do you understand? Yes, sister. Noeki replied listlessly. I heard from teacher that there will be a Chunin exam this year. Tsunade reminded him. If you aren't proactive about doing missions, you won't be able to participate when the time comes. Really? Noeki immediately perked up. Tsunade nodded. It's related to the war in the Land of Rain. Many genin have already met the requirements for promotion. Logically speaking, isn't it more inappropriate to hold chunin exams during wartime? Naoki asked, confused. Because the war hasn't reached its most intense point yet. Tsunade said as she walked. Under the premise that it doesn't affect the war effort, holding a chunin exam is quite suitable. Natsuki suddenly thought of Sarutobi Asuma, Might Guy, and the others participating in the chunin exams in the original story. The timing was also exactly the year before the Third Shinobi World War reached its peak. We're here. Your first mission is to clean up the river trash. Tsunade stopped. Clean up an entire river. Naoki felt a headache coming on. Can we use water release? Natsuki asked thoughtfully. You're the smart one. Tsunade nodded. Both of you know water release. This mission can be considered a form of training for you. Although it was a D-rank mission, she wouldn't let Natsuki and the others waste their time for nothing. Naoki realized this and began to form hand seals. Under his control, the river water surged. Soon a lot of trash floated to the surface. Natsuki, you do the mission with Naoki. Tsunade ordered. No, I will teach you taijutsu now. Yes, teacher Tsunade. Natsuki responded, formed hand seals, and used water release to clean the river. Nono followed Tsunade to an open space on the other side and began learning taijutsu. The sun set in the west. Natsuki and Naoki finished the river cleaning mission. How does it feel? Tsunade asked with a smile. Very tiring. Naoki let out a breath. Although there was no combat, using water release all day was also a huge burden for him. Don't underestimate low-rank missions. Tsunade said earnestly. Every mission has meaning. Naoki wanted to say something but stopped. Tsunade knew he hadn't grasped the point yet, so she looked at Natsuki. Doing low-rank missions is mainly to interact with the villagers, help them, and understand them. Natsuki thought for a moment. Only by doing this can one gain the villagers' recognition and become Hokage. No wonder teacher often says you have a deep understanding of the will of fire. Tsunade said, very satisfied. You are indeed outstanding. Natsuki secretly thought, I'd rather not help those Konoha troublemakers. Although becoming Hokage required a vote from the villagers, it actually wasn't that important. The true power lay in the hands of the current Hokage. For example, Sarutobi Hiruzen became Hokage because Senju Tobirama appointed him during a crisis. There was absolutely no villager voting process. Of course, in front of Tsunade, he had to say some nice words. So that's how it is. Naoki scratched his head. You've all worked hard today. Go back and get a good rest. We'll do another mission the day after tomorrow. Tsunade considered. Although she said rest, she was actually giving them time to train. Teacher Tsunade, for our next mission, can we take one that goes to the land of iron? Natsuki directly stated his purpose. I want to use Hanzo's Kenjutsu to exchange for Mifune's Kenjutsu. Your idea is quite unique. Tsunade couldn't help but laugh. She wasn't surprised that Natsuki wanted Mifune's Kenjutsu. Because he had always been learning new Kenjutsu styles. He even asked her to teach him Senju-style Kenjutsu before. Mifune should agree. After all, he just lost to Hanzo and definitely wants revenge. Tsunade nodded. For our next mission, we'll go to the land of iron. Thank you, teacher Tsunade. Natsuki breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Fortunately, his usual performance was outstanding enough, so Tsunade agreed without much thought. The day after tomorrow. Natsuki and Nono arrived at the entrance of Konoha at the agreed time. But the village entrance was livelier than they expected. 5 ninja squads were assembling, and the person in charge was none other than Hotaki Sakumo. Lord Sakumo. Natsuki thought for a moment and stepped forward to greet him. Natsuki, why are you here? Hotaki Sakumo asked, confused. I remember your name wasn't on the list given by Lord Hokage. The reason he asked this was that Natsuki possessed Jonin-level strength and was indeed qualified to follow him on this mission. I'm waiting for teacher Tsunade here. Natsuki explained. We are going out on a mission. Then it seems I misunderstood. Hotaki Sakumo paused. It's about time. I'll be leaving first. Let's chat next time we have the chance. After speaking, he led the 5 ninja squads and quickly left Konoha. Tsunagakure's puppet brigade suddenly disappeared a while ago. Tsunade walked up. Teacher felt something was fishy, so he sent Sakumo to check the situation. Natsuki's thoughts stirred, remembering something. During the Second Shinobi World War, the war between Tsunagakure and Konoha had two most famous battles. Besides Tsunade and Chiyo's battle of poisoning and detoxifying, there was also Hatake Sakumo inflicting heavy damage on Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. At that time, the leaders of the puppet brigade were Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law Sasori's parents. They ultimately died at the hands of Hatake Sakumo. Could it be this time? Natsuki wasn't sure. But he was curious if fighting Tsunagakure's puppet brigade could trigger a new character template. After all, there were quite a few characters who manipulated puppets or dolls in various works. Tsunade talked about the content of this mission as they walked. The mission rank was C rank. The objective was to retrieve a sword forged in the Land of Iron for the client. Although Noeka kept clamoring to encounter enemies, it was obvious that no enemies would appear on such a mission. The group successfully arrived in the Land of Iron and Natsuki also met Mifune and completed the exchange of Kenjutsu. Chapter 87, Tsunagakure's Puppet Brigade. Konoha, Hokage Rock. 2 months, a full 2 months of nothing but low-rank missions. When will this end? After finishing cleaning the Hokage Rock, Noeka plopped down on the ground and couldn't help but complain. Soon. The number of low-rank missions we've done should be enough to meet the requirement for the Chunin exams. Natsuki said unhurriedly. It better be. Noeka sighed. Weren't you full of motivation 2 months ago? Natsuki asked playfully. But we can't do low-rank missions every single day. Who can stand this? Noeka retorted. If teacher Tsunade hears you, she'll scold you again. Natsuki looked up toward the distance. Wearing a white training outfit, Nono was engaged in a taijutsu spar with Tsunade. For convenience during taijutsu training, she tied her hair up into a single ponytail. Compared to her usual gentle demeanor, she looked much more capable. After 2 months of learning, Nono's taijutsu had reached a decent level. At the very least, she wouldn't be at a disadvantage against most genin. Natsuki hadn't been idle these past 2 months either. Besides doing missions, he had been learning Mifune's Kenjutsu. Natsuki had already learned a considerable amount of Kenjutsu. Although Mifune's Kenjutsu was difficult to learn, it was manageable for him. Half a month ago, he successfully mastered Mifune's Kenjutsu. Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Sasaki Kojiro Template Ability 3, Knowledge of Soa. The effect of Knowledge of Soa was that when repeating the same Kenjutsu against a target, the attacks would not be easily seen through. Coupled with vitrification and transcendent reaction speed, Natsuki felt that he might already be able to defeat Hatake Sakumo now. But to be safe, he decided to unlock Starburst Stream first. Unlocking Starburst Stream required defeating 3 Fire Release Jonin. He had already defeated 1. For the remaining 2 Fire Release Jonin, if he didn't encounter them on missions, Natsuki planned to challenge Fire Release Jonin within the village. He wasn't sure if other ninjas would accept his challenge, but the Uchiha clan ninjas definitely would. However, he personally preferred defeating 2 Fire Release Jonin during missions. Mainly because he wouldn't have to worry about holding back. Right at that moment, Natsuki saw a masked ninja suddenly appear. It's an ANBU ninja. Noeki immediately stood up, his spirit lifted. Natsuki glanced at him, knowing why he was so excited. The ANBU ninja was definitely looking for Tsunade. It was highly likely Sarutobi Hiruzen had a mission for her. Generally speaking, missions issued directly by the Hokage wouldn't be low rank. They would be at least B rank. And if it involved Tsunade, it would be either A rank or S rank. Natsuki fell into thought. Could it be that the situation in the Land of Rain had escalated again? Was the battle that made the Konoha Sun infamous in the original story about to happen? What is it? Tsunade noticed the ANBU ninja, distanced herself from Nono, and temporarily stopped the spar. Lady Tsunade. The ANBU ninja bowed slightly and handed her a scroll. Tsunade took the scroll and read it. Her expression didn't change. She just nodded. I understand. Report back to teacher that I'll depart tomorrow. Hearing this, the ANBU ninja disappeared from his spot. Sister, is there a mission? Noeki asked impatiently. There is. Tsunade didn't hide it. To support Sakumo. Natsuki raised an eyebrow. Although he had been doing low-rank missions recently, he was still somewhat aware of Hatake Sakumo's situation. 2 months ago, Tsunagakure's puppet brigade disappeared, and Sarutobi Hiruzen sent Hatake Sakumo to investigate. He ultimately found out that Tsunagakure planned to send the puppet brigade to launch a sneak attack from the rear. Fortunately, Hatake Sakumo intercepted them and engaged in a 2-month-long battle of sneak attacks and counter-attacks with them. Barring any accidents, it would end with Hatake Sakumo killing Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law just like in the original story. But what was the situation now? Sending Tsunade to support Hatake Sakumo, did Tsunagakure's puppet brigade gain the upper hand? A member of Sakumo's squad was poisoned. Tsunade continued. Plus, Konoha needs a major victory to boost morale, so teacher sent me to assist Sakumo. I see. Natsuki realized in his heart. It seemed to be his butterfly effect. In the original story, Tsunade most likely didn't go to support Hatake Sakumo. Otherwise, Cho wouldn't have only shown hatred toward Hatake Kakashi. Doesn't that make it an S-rank mission? Noeki asked happily. It is S-rank. Tsunade glared at him. S-rank missions are extremely dangerous. You must treat it with caution, otherwise, I'll only take Natsuki. Sister. Noeki immediately promised. I will definitely obey your orders. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. During a mission, use proper titles. Natsuki blinked. Lady Tsunade. Noeki was stunned for a moment, then corrected himself. Stop causing trouble. Tsunade raised her hand, flicked Natsuki's forehead. But interrupted like this, her anger dissipated, and she didn't scold Noeki anymore. Go back and prepare. Tsunade instructed. This mission might take a long time. Yes, Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki and Nono replied in unison. Yes, sister. Noeki followed closely. Dismissed. Tsunade waved her hand. Going on a mission usually required preparing ninja tools, bentos, and medicine. Natsuki didn't need to prepare ninja tools and medicine. He had projection magecraft. If he didn't have enough ninja tools, he could just project them. As for medicine, it went without saying. Bringing blue healing potions and red healing potions was enough. But Nono didn't have projection magecraft and needed to prepare some ninja tools. Natsuki took her to a nearby ninja tool shop. The next day at 9 a.m. Natsuki and the others gathered at the entrance of Konoha on time. The location of this mission is still in the Land of Rain, but bordering the Land of Rivers. Tsunade said. Tsunagakure's puppet brigade originally planned to pass through the Land of Rivers to attack us. How insidious! Noeki said indignantly. This is war. Anything can happen. Tsunade shook her head. Peace is definitely better. Noeki clenched his fists. I want to learn from grandfather and end this chaotic world. You still have a long way to go. Tsunade laughed. Teacher Tsunade, the puppet master's poison might be useful for making an antidote for Hanzo's poison. Natsuki suddenly said. That is indeed possible. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then said thoughtfully. Do all puppet masters use the same poison? Nono asked softly. No. Tsunade paused. But the poison used by Cho, her son, and her daughter-in-law is definitely the best in Tsunagakure. After a brief chat, the group left Konoha. By afternoon, they had already arrived at the border between the Land of Fire and the Land of Rain. We'll rest for the night and enter the Land of Rain tomorrow. Tsunade found an empty clearing, stopped. I'll set up the tents. Noeki volunteered. Natsuki, check the surroundings. Tsunade ordered. Natsuki nodded. He formed hand seals and used the summoning jutsu to summon the crow Kurobane. Kurobane spread its wings and flew into the sky. Natsuki didn't stay idle either. He climbed a tree and used clairvoyance to scan the surroundings. After confirming there were no problems, he jumped down. Noeki had already set up the tents. Time to eat. Tsunade called out. The four of them sat in a circle. Tsunade, Nono, and Noeki unanimously looked at Natsuki. Natsuki inexplicably felt like a zookeeper feeding animals. He smiled, took out bentos, and distributed them to the three of them. Nono, you are a medical ninja. Tsunade said while eating. If a battle breaks out, prioritize protecting yourself. Nono was slightly taken aback and subconsciously looked at her. As a medical ninja, you can only save your teammates if you are alive. Tsunade explained. Natsuki suddenly remembered the 3 rules for medical ninjas mentioned by Tsunade in the original story. First, as long as a teammate isn't dead, never give up on treatment. Second, a medical ninja must never fight on the front lines. Third, a medical ninja must not die before their teammates. It seemed Tsunade hadn't proposed these 3 rules yet. How should he put it? There were reasonable aspects and unreasonable aspects. After all, there were too many unexpected situations in battle. When a real fight broke out, who could care about so much? After eating, we'll take turns keeping watch. Tsunade continued. Nono and I will take the first half of the night. Natsuki and Naoki will take the second half. Everyone nodded, having no objections. They were now close to the land of rain and could encounter a battle at any time. Having someone keep watch was undoubtedly safer. During the second half of the night, Natsuki and Naoki were woken up and left the tent. In the dead of night, everything in sight was pitch black. But Natsuki had the night vision ability from the Kirito template, so night was no different from day. Taking advantage of the free time, he opened his system. Up until now, he had triggered 15 character templates and completely unlocked 9 of them. The remaining character templates all had 1 or 2 tricky abilities. Although he had many character templates, Natsuki noticed his main combat method was still Kenjutsu. This all started when he triggered the Emi Yashiro character template. Among them, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist from Kirigakure had made a great contribution to him. Natsuki stroked his chin. He wondered if he would have the chance to see the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist again. The night passed without incident. The next morning, after breakfast, the group continued their journey. Upon entering the land of rain, the weather suddenly changed from cloudless to continuous heavy rain. Natsuki and the others put on raincoats. After walking for 2 hours, they finally met Hitaki Sakumo. You check on the wounded first. Compared to his usual self, the current Hitaki Sakumo was less approachable and more businesslike. Tsunade nodded. Saving lives was the priority. She didn't mind his attitude. Led by Hitaki Sakumo, Tsunade saw 4 wounded ninjas. They had all been poisoned during battles with Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Although there were medical ninjas in Hitaki Sakumo's squad, the poison of Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law was extraordinary, and they were helpless against it. However, for Tsunade, it wasn't helpless, just troublesome at most. I'll wait for you outside. Hitaki Sakumo consciously left the tent. It seems Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law have truly inherited her legacy. Tsunade stepped forward, finished her examination. Natsuki secretly thought that Chiyo's grandson, Sasori, was the one who truly inherited her legacy, even surpassing his master. But right now, Sasori was only 4 or 5 years old. Natsuki, no, prepare to make the antidote. Tsunade ordered. Yes. Natsuki and Nono immediately responded. They had been making antidotes with Tsunade recently and were already very familiar with the process. Although they couldn't decipher Hanzo's poison, making an antidote for the poison of Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law under Tsunade's direction was no problem. Naoki didn't know how to make antidotes, so he could only wait on the side. Time slowly passed. By evening, the poison in the 4 wounded ninjas had been completely cleared. And the poison in their bodies had also been extracted by Tsunade. When Natsuki touched it, the system prompted him that this was exactly one of the synthetic poisons needed for the curse-breaking poison recipe. He suddenly had a question. Was Chiyo's poison different from her son and daughter-in-law's? Natsuki fell into thought. Not necessarily different but evolved. The reason for the evolution might be related to the battle of poisoning and detoxifying with Tsunade. Fierce battles often promoted the improvement of a combatant's strength. The same principle applied to poison. To prevent Tsunade from detoxifying it, Cho had to force her poison to evolve. Of course, he would only know for sure after encountering Chiyo's poison. Store it away for now. We'll test it when we return to Konoha. Tsunade yawned. It's finally over. Let's rest for the night and discuss the mission with Sakumo tomorrow. Natsuki and the others nodded. The time came to the next day. Tsunade brought Natsuki, Naoki, and Nono into Hitaki Sakumo's tent. Tsunade, I already received a message from Lord Hokage and know your mission. Hitaki Sakumo said as he opened a scroll. Natsuki subconsciously took a glance. The scroll contained a map. Many red dots were marked on the map. This is a topographical map of the surrounding area. Hitaki Sakumo explained. The red dots are the locations where we've clashed with Tsunagakure's puppet brigade recently. It looks like there are battlefields everywhere. Tsunade frowned slightly. Tsunagakure's puppet brigade is currently operating in this area. Hitaki Sakumo drew a large circle on the map with his hand. They are very smart, only launching sneak attacks from the shadows and not fighting us head-on. How about drawing them out? Tsunade pondered for a moment. Even if they are drawn out, they won't linger in battle. Hatake Sakumo shook his head. When fighting me, they always retreat very quickly. That's because they know your strength. Tsunade chuckled. If we draw them out, they might just fall for it. Although she was famous, the outside world still primarily viewed her as a medical ninja. There's another problem. Hatake Sakumo frowned. They will definitely dispatch many jonin. If my rescue is too late. He didn't finish his sentence, but everyone understood his meaning. I might have a way to buy time. Natsuki spoke up. Chapter 88, Natsuki's ultimate move, Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law captured. The Land of Rain. Tsunade's group of 4 walked through the curtain of rain. Half a month had passed since they met Hatake Sakumo. Although Tsunade said she wanted to draw out Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law, she couldn't make it too obvious. After some discussion, the final decision was to respond to changes by remaining unchanged. Tsunade and the others would execute their mission normally until they accidentally got separated and were targeted by Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. How should one put it? Tsunade and the others wanted to kill them, and they also wanted to kill Tsunade and the others. After all, this was a battlefield, and everyone wanted to earn merit, especially Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Particularly since they were Tsunagakure's ace unit. Having tangled with Hatake Sakumo for 2 months without achieving anything, they were actually the anxious ones. If they could kill Tsunade, reporting it back would be a massive accomplishment. Get ready. Natsuki suddenly spoke up. Did you spot enemies? Nowake's spirit jolted. These enemies are not ordinary. They spotted Kurobane. Natsuki explained. Fortunately, Kurobane took the initiative to dispel the summoning jutsu first, otherwise, I would have lost this summoning beast. Every time he went out on a mission, he would summon Kurobane in advance. As a crow, Kurobane could fly. With the Land of Rain raining every day and the lighting being gloomy, it could hide its tracks very well. The ninja cat Shirayuki and the ninja hound Kurohana weren't as useful in the rain. As for the ninja eagle Aozora, it was too large and easily spotted. The most suitable for reconnaissance missions was the crow Kurobane. Being able to accurately spot your Kurobane in the rain, they might be the targets we're waiting for. Tsunade said while walking normally. Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. Nowake immediately said. Once we confirm it's them, Natsuki, use hiding in mist technique, and then have your summoning beast notify Sakumo. Tsunade instructed. We'll stall them as much as possible. It would be best if we could make them stay here permanently. Yes, Teacher Tsunade. Natsuki nodded. Will your method work? Nowake asked curiously. Don't let us ouch. Before he could finish his sentence, Tsunade flicked his forehead hard. Don't worry. It will definitely work. Natsuki smiled. I wouldn't joke with our lives. The 4 walked a bit further. Soon eerie sounds rang out from their surroundings. Careful, it's puppets. Tsunade immediately warned. Natsuki looked up. Under the effect of clairvoyance, he saw a row of puppets wearing black cloaks. Their speed was very fast, and they had sharp blades on both their left and right arms. Watch me. After Nowake finished speaking, he formed hand seals with both hands. Water surged out, sweeping up the omnipresent rainwater. In the blink of an eye, a water wall rose around them. In the next second, the puppets charged forward. The water wall trembled violently. Several cuts appeared under the attacks of the sharp blades. At the same time, Natsuki had already used the hiding in mist technique. The moment the water wall ruptured, fog frantically spread in all directions. Natsuki then used the summoning jutsu, summoned the crow Kurobane, and let it leave during the confusion. It's actually hiding in mist technique. A young ninja wearing a Tsunagakure forehead protector issued an order. Use wind release. He was none other than Chiyo's son. Behind him, a puppet master temporarily stopped controlling his puppet, formed hand seals with both hands, and spat out a terrifying fierce wind. Wherever the fierce wind passed, the fog completely dissipated. One person is missing. Everyone, be careful. The young ninja frowned after noticing Natsuki had disappeared. The other 3 puppet masters looked around while controlling their puppets to attack Tsunade, Nowake, and Nono. 4 jonin. They really went all out. Tsunade sneered. This is out of respect for Princess Tsunade. The young ninja replied calmly. If they weren't afraid of attracting the attention of Hitaki Sakumo and the others, there would be more than just 4 jonin. But in his view, 4 jonin were enough to take down Tsunade. Setting aside her medical ninjutsu, Tsunade's combat strength was only that of an elite jonin. Her 3 students, although somewhat famous, were at best chunin level considering their age. Moreover, they weren't just 4 jonin. They also had a large number of puppets. The puppets they controlled were all at least chunin level in strength. A piercing sound of wind rang out. A puppet arrived in front of Tsunade first. Chakra enhanced strength. Tsunade clenched her fist and punched the ninja sword it swung directly. Terrifying power instantly diffused. This puppet, along with its ninja sword, was sent flying backward. Princess Tsunade truly lives up to her reputation. A delicate-looking young female ninja from Sunagakure spoke up. She was exactly Chiyo's daughter-in-law, ranking in the top 5 among Sunagakure's puppet masters. We too will deal with her. The young ninja arranged. You two deal with her students. Noeki snorted coldly and took out the great sword Samehada. Water breathing, 4th form striking tide. Rainwater swirled around the great sword Samehada. The heavy great sword Samehada crashed into the puppet in front of him like a giant dragon. Boom! The black cloak tore apart. A huge hole was smashed into the puppet's chest. But in the next second, the puppet raised its arms. A dense barrage of senbon flew out. Noeki's pupils contracted, but fortunately, the great sword Samehada was large enough. He directly held it in front of him, deflecting all the senbon. A puppet's entire body is a weapon. Don't let your guard down until the very last moment. Seeing this, Tsunade immediately warned. Noeki couldn't help but nod. It was indeed dangerous just now. Princess Tsunade, it's been a while, and your other student still hasn't shown up. Has he already run away? The young ninja asked with a frown. He found it strange. As a jonin, he actually hadn't found any trace of Natsuki at all. Take a guess. While Tsunade was speaking, she delivered another kick. The young female ninja waved her hands. Her puppet dodged the kick. While dodging, the puppet opened its mouth. Its tongue wasn't a tongue but a syringe. 3 poisoned needles flew toward Tsunade. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and tilted her head to the left, dodging the 3 poison needles. The young female ninja wasn't discouraged. Her 10 fingers moved continuously. Her puppet spun, its body splitting open, revealing sharp blades. 6 or 7 spinning blades turned her puppet into a deadly weapon. Then I'll kill you to force him out. The young ninja flicked his hands. Another puppet followed closely, charging toward Tsunade. Tsunade had just dodged the young female ninja's puppet when his puppet raised its hands and spewed out 2 streams of fire. Scorching aura permeated the air. Tsunade felt the heatwave hitting her face. With no time to dodge, she clenched her fist and punched out. Majestic chakra erupted from her fist. Combined with her terrifying strength, it directly shattered the 2 streams of fire. The young ninja also knew such an attack wouldn't work. His puppet shook its arms, this time spewing out a massive amount of poisonous mist. Meanwhile, the young female ninja's puppet continued to pursue Tsunade, its spinning blades seemingly intent on cutting her to pieces. At the same time, the other 2 puppet masters weren't idle either. One puppet master's puppet had been half destroyed by the great sword Samehada, so he immediately switched to a new one. The new puppet wasn't humanoid. It looked like a pangolin. It crawled on all 4s, with a sharp blade on its head, crashing toward Noeki. The other puppet master controlled a humanoid puppet with both hands, slashing at Nono with a sword. Let me handle this. Noeki told Nono and blocked in front of her with the great sword Samehada. Water breathing, 3rd form flowing dance. The surrounding rainwater, drawn by his water release chakra, rapidly swirled around him. In the next second, Noeki swung the great sword Samehada from multiple directions simultaneously. The 2 puppets couldn't help but pause, stopping in their tracks. Water release has too great an enhancement in the land of rain. The 2 puppet masters thought, but their hands weren't slow. Chakra was transmitted to the puppets through chakra threads. The pangolin puppet suddenly increased its strength, pushing Noeki and the great sword Samehada back. The humanoid puppet leaped into the air. Its wrists opened up, and 2 long spears thrust toward Noeki. Noeki felt his body go numb, unable to react. He wasn't a jonin, after all. Fortunately, Tsunade had been keeping an eye on his situation. Ignoring the poisonous mist, she leaped up and kicked the young female ninja's puppet. The puppet's head instantly exploded, and its spinning body stopped. Tsunade used the body flicker technique to widen the distance, then stepped forward, grabbed Naoki, and retreated backward. The two long spears followed relentlessly without losing momentum. Tsunade flicked her free left hand fiercely. A large number of shuriken met them. Piercing sounds rang out. Although the two long spears weren't deflected, their trajectory was altered. The threat was instantly neutralized. Right at that moment, the pangolin puppet's head split open. A row of poison darts flew out, covering Tsunade and the other two. Naoki! Tsunade immediately warned. Naoki steadied his body, grabbed the great sword Samehada, and smashed it out. Water breathing, third form flowing dance. Under the impact of the water flow, all the poison darts splattered in all directions. Truly troublesome. The young ninja immediately threw out a summoning scroll. The scroll unrolled, and another puppet appeared before him. The young ninja controlled the two puppets to charge at Tsunade from the left and right. Upon getting close, the two puppets suddenly sprouted another pair of arms each. The two puppets, with 8 arms holding 8 ninja swords, swung out. For a moment, flashes of blades and swords swept out completely. Tsunade frowned slightly, grabbed Naoki's great sword Samehada, and smashed it out. She used the great sword Samehada like a meteor hammer, swinging it with great force. Naoki's mouth twitched, but he wasn't idle either, immediately forming hand seals with both hands. Water release, water colliding wave. A massive amount of water release chakra swept up the omnipresent rainwater, forming a tornado-like waterfall. The young ninja instantly appeared overpowered. The other 3 puppet masters hurriedly controlled their puppets to rescue him. For a moment, the scene appeared quite chaotic. Retreat! A sudden voice rang out. It was Natsuki. Tsunade swung the great sword Samehada without hesitation. Many puppets were forced back by her single strike carrying terrifying power. She then grabbed Naoki and Nono and retreated backward. Over there! The young ninja immediately looked toward Natsuki. He had been worried about Natsuki causing trouble earlier, and now he had finally shown himself. The other 3 puppet masters also looked at Natsuki. But it wasn't just one Natsuki. It was 20 Natsukis. This was the multiple shadow clone jutsu. The 4 puppet masters couldn't help but feel confused. Did he use the multiple shadow clone jutsu because he saw they had multiple puppets? But what combat strength would 20 shadow clones have? Right at that moment, they saw the 20 Natsukis raise their hands simultaneously. Countless Kurosawas, swords of the Thunder God, blunt swords, kabutori, and long swords Nuiberi were thrown simultaneously. There were so many that they covered the entire sky. Defend! The young ninja's pupils contracted. His hands moved rapidly as he hurriedly shouted. 6 puppets appeared in front of him. The puppets trembled. Densely packed sharp blades popped out, and then they began to spin. The incoming swords and blades were all deflected. The other 3 puppet masters did the same. They successively brought out more puppets. Their strength could be seen from the number of puppets. The young ninja, able to control 6 puppets simultaneously, was the strongest. His wife was slightly inferior, only able to control 5. But the remaining 2 puppet masters could only control 3 at most. Densely packed sounds of metal clashing rang out continuously. Truly spectacular. Naoki couldn't help but sigh emotionally. Indeed. Tsunade nodded. When Natsuki told her about it earlier, she was still skeptical. But seeing so many swords and blades in reality, she realized Natsuki's chakra reserves had far exceeded those of an ordinary jonin. Thinking of what would happen next, she felt expectant. The reason Tsunade was confident they could hold out until Hitaki Sakumo arrived to rescue them was largely because she believed in Natsuki. Where did he get so many swords and blades? The young ninja asked with a frown. The swords and blades Natsuki projected using projection magecraft were now comparable to the originals. Even just throwing them purely by hand, the sheer quantity made it difficult for them to parry for a while. Fortunately, all 4 of them were jonin, and they had 17 puppets. The dense sounds gradually thinned out. Natsuki had thrown all the projected swords and blades. He casually dispelled the 19 shadow clones, then looked at the 4 puppet masters with a calm face. Now, their surroundings were completely littered with densely packed swords and blades. Although Natsuki had consumed most of his chakra, he wasn't panicked at all. It's time to end this, brat. The young ninja caught his breath and immediately controlled his 6 puppets to move. The other 3 puppet masters turned toward Tsunade, Noeki, and Nono. But just as they took their first step, an unimaginable sense of crisis surfaced in their hearts. Their bodies instinctively stiffened. Then they saw Natsuki raise his hand and snap his fingers. The 4 of them instantly felt confused. But what followed was a look of horror on their faces. The swords and blades surrounding them trembled violently. They tore apart like balloons, and chakra air currents swept countless fragments toward them. The closest puppet master had no time to react and was instantly blasted apart. Fragments pierced his body. His expression twisted in pain, and then he turned into a mist of blood filling the sky. Another puppet master instinctively controlled his 3 puppets to block in front of him. But it was still useless. The 3 puppets instantly fell apart, torn to pieces. He opened his mouth, then fell into eternal darkness. Damn it! The remaining 2 puppet masters were Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. At this critical moment of life and death, they erupted with all their strength. 2 humanoid puppets wrapped around them. The remaining puppets around them revealed all their weapons. Senbon, poison darts, sharp blades, and more all flew out. Piercing collision sounds echoed between heaven and earth. T2 terrifying. Noeki watched, dumbfounded. Nono's mouth hung wide open, so shocked she didn't know what to say. This power is already comparable to an S-rank ninjutsu. Tsunade took a deep breath and said slowly. The only problems were that the preparation time was too long, and it consumed a lot of chakra. It required projecting a massive number of swords and blades, and using the multiple shadow clone jutsu to execute. Tsunade didn't know about unlimited blade works. If she knew of its existence, she would realize that the scene before her was a weakened version of unlimited blade works. If Natsuki unlocked unlimited blade works, he wouldn't need to use the multiple shadow clone jutsu, nor would he need to prepare so many swords and blades in advance. Of course, unlimited blade works would consume even more chakra. Natsuki suspected that his 4 Kakashi's worth of chakra wouldn't be enough to sustain unlimited blade works for very long. After an unknown amount of time, the explosions stopped. Rainwater fell from the sky again. The field was no longer flat as before but full of craters. And the 2 puppet masters on the field were in an even more miserable state. The puppets surrounding them had disintegrated in the explosions. The 2 puppets on the outside of their bodies could barely hold on. Although they hadn't fallen apart, they had become tattered and torn. A massive amount of blood seeped out. However, these 2 puppet masters were still alive. Right at that moment, the sound of tearing air rang out. Hatake Sakumo and his team finally arrived. They instinctively surrounded the 2 puppet masters, then all showed shocked expressions. What kind of terrifying battle had this ruined field witnessed? Capture them! Tsunade spoke up. They are Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. They are more valuable alive. Natsuki was slightly taken aback. This was different from their fate in the original story, where they were killed by Hatake Sakumo. But Tsunade made a lot of sense. They were more valuable alive. Both puppet masters were heavily injured. Although they wanted to resist, they were easily knocked unconscious by the Konoha ninjas. Tsunade, I thought there would be a fierce battle, but I didn't expect to just come and clean up the mess. Hatake Sakumo asked curiously. How did you do it? Although Natsuki had previously said he had a way to buy time, he didn't explain the specific method. The reason was that if he said it, it would be easily detected by Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. It's a ninjutsu created by Natsuki. Tsunade said with a slight smile. I see. Hatake Sakumo looked at Natsuki. As expected, a great reputation has no empty scholars. As for what ninjutsu he created, he didn't ask further. He understood the rules very well. But with such great power, it was probably an S-rank ninjutsu. Thinking of Natsuki's age again, he could only sigh in admiration. Chapter 89, Big Slow Template. Tsunade. Hatake Sakumo said in a deep voice. Now that Tsunagakure's puppet brigade is leaderless, I think we can press our advantage. Tsunagakure's puppet brigade naturally consisted of more than just 4 jonin. As a brigade, their numbers were not small, totaling 30 people. 2 leaders, Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law, and 28 members forming 7 ninja squads. Tsunade pondered for a moment and nodded. Hatake Sakumo had brought 5 ninja squads with him to intercept Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Adding her and Team 1, that made 6 ninja squads totaling 24 people. But Tsunagakure's puppet brigade had already lost its core of 4 jonin, including the two leaders. Comparing the two sides, they actually held the advantage. Especially Hatake Sakumo. His kenjutsu was fast, accurate, and ruthless, meaning most ninjas facing him would only take one strike. In terms of style, it was like Minato after learning the Flying Thunder God technique. To lure you into a trap without us noticing, Tsunagakure's puppet brigade deliberately sent out many members to confuse us. Hatake Sakumo took out a map. They are all in this location now. Didn't you alert them when you came to support us? Tsunade took a look. No. I specifically led my squad to avoid them. Hatake Sakumo explained. After all, if we alerted them, we would have been held up by them. Without further ado, let's move out now. Tsunade said immediately upon hearing this. Tsunade, you lead them there first. I'll go back and notify the others, and we'll form a pincer attack. After handing the map to Tsunade, Hatake Sakumo disappeared from his spot at extreme speed. Are there any among you who know Earth Release ninjutsu? Tsunade wasn't in a hurry to leave. Disrupt the terrain of this area so others can't tell what happened. I do. A middle-aged ninja stepped forward and immediately formed hand seals with both hands. Earth Release, Earth-style wall. He slammed his palm onto the ground. The ground cracked, and the terrain instantly changed. Let's go. Tsunade took a couple of glances, waved her hand. Hatake Sakumo brought 4 jonin with him for support this time. Adding Tsunade, Natsuki, Noeki, and Nono, that made 8 ninjas. Following behind Tsunade, Natsuki suddenly let out a soft sound of surprise. Unlocking Starburst Stream required defeating 3 fire release jonin. He had already defeated 1 in the Land of Rain previously, so the progress was 1/3. But he just noticed the progress had reached 2/3. What's going on? Was there a fire release jonin among the 4 puppet masters he just defeated? Natsuki suddenly remembered that one of the puppets used by Chiyo's son could spew fire. Could it be that he excelled in fire release? Regardless, this was ultimately a good thing. This meant Natsuki only needed to defeat 1 more fire release jonin to unlock Starburst Stream. And maybe he would encounter one in the upcoming battle. The group traveled at lightning speed and soon arrived at their destination, the temporary camp of Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. It seems we haven't been discovered yet. Tsunade stopped in her tracks, not rushing to attack. She was waiting for Hatake Sakumo and the others to arrive. They weren't far. Piercing sounds of wind rang out. Hatake Sakumo and the other Konoha ninjas arrived in time. But they made too much noise and were instantly noticed by Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Attack! Seeing this, Tsunade immediately charged forward. Enemy attack! As soon as her voice fell, a ninja from Tsunagakure's puppet brigade shouted loudly. In an instant, many ninjutsu poured out. There was wind release, earth release, and fire release. Overall, earth release was the most numerous. Although Tsunagakure's puppet brigade excelled in controlling puppets, it didn't mean they didn't know ninjutsu. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. Noeki and the others also immediately released ninjutsu to counterattack. Hatake Sakumo took out the white light chakra saber, moving as fast as lightning, and disappeared from his spot. In the next second, miserable screams rang out. Natsuki immediately locked onto the puppet master who cast fire release. Shadow space. His body slipped into the shadows. The shadow rapidly approached the fire release puppet master. Upon getting close, he leaped up, holding the projected Kurosawa in his hand. Water breathing, 10th form constant flux. Kurosawa slashed down at the fire release puppet master. The surrounding rainwater was drawn in, transforming into a water dragon descending from the sky. The fire release puppet master's expression changed drastically, completely not expecting Natsuki to suddenly appear. At this critical moment of life and death, he flicked his hands. His puppet met the water dragon. Boom! Kurosawa, carrying the water dragon, directly smashed his puppet to pieces. Without losing momentum, it crashed into the fire release puppet master. The fire release puppet master was immediately sent flying backward. His face was deathly pale, feeling as if his body had been hit by a truck, aching all over. But fortunately, his puppet had blocked most of the damage for him. The fire release puppet master steadied his body and formed hand seals with both hands without hesitation. He spat out a giant fireball. As rainwater fell on the fireball, steam instantly rose. Water breathing, 7th form drop ripple thrust. Natsuki charged forward holding Kurosawa. Giant ripples appeared. Kurosawa hit the fireball. Water and fire collided, creating even more steam. Natsuki's body disappeared into the steam. The fire release puppet master stared intently at the sound of the explosion. His hands moved, and he took out a new puppet. But as the sound of the explosion faded, besides some steam, he didn't see Natsuki. The fire release puppet master couldn't help but be stunned. In the next second, a spiral column of smoke suddenly appeared from the steam, binding him. The fire release puppet master struggled but to no avail. This was precisely the ability of the Logia-type plume fruit, white vine. Natsuki's right arm re-solidified. He knocked him unconscious. He then released white vine and restored his body. Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Kirigaya Kazuto Template Ability 4, Starburst Stream. Excellent! It came at the perfect time. Natsuki nodded in satisfaction. With this, only Ability 5 of his Kirigaya Kazuto template remained locked. Ability 5 was the Eclipse equivalent to an enhanced version of Starburst Stream. Its unlock condition was to defeat a battlefield commander. Natsuki was thoughtful. Theoretically, Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law could also be considered battlefield commanders, but they didn't unlock the Eclipse. It seemed that because the number of people was too small, it could only be considered a battle, not a battlefield. Natsuki didn't think much further. Holding Kurosawa, he threw himself back into the battle. Although Tsunagakure's puppet brigade had strong combat power, they were still insufficient in front of Hitaki Sakumo, Tsunade, and the others. Most importantly, they had lost their two leaders. Without anyone to command them, they ultimately lost the battle. Sakumo, you clear the battlefield. Tsunade let out a breath. I'll take the medical ninjas to treat the wounded. Hitaki Sakumo nodded. He immediately arranged for the other ninjas to start cleaning up the battlefield. Natsuki, Noeki, and Nono were probably not assigned tasks due to their young age. The three gathered together, each appearing somewhat dazed. This was Noeki and Nono's first time experiencing such a large-scale slaughter, so they couldn't process it for a moment. Natsuki, on the other hand, was dazed for another reason. He awakened a new character template. You have awakened the Big Slow template. Although Natsuki had read many works, he couldn't remember who this was for a moment. But he could be certain it was definitely related to puppet masters. After all, he had defeated quite a few puppet masters tonight, including Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. Name, Big Slow. Period, 100 Years Quest. World, Fairy Tale. Rank, A rank. Ability 1, Seath Magic Human Possession Unlocked Effect, summon 5 dolls, injecting a portion of one's soul into the dolls for remote control. With sufficient chakra, they can be summoned infinitely. Ability 2, Doll Line Formation Locked Effect, the 5 dolls line up in a straight line, releasing a piercing slash beam. Unlock condition, defeat 5 genin. Ability 3, Doll X Formation Locked Effect, the 5 dolls form an X shape, creating a high-strength defensive barrier. Unlock condition, defeat 5 chunin. Ability 4, Doll Victory Formation Locked Effect, the 5 dolls form a V shape, launching an area of effect impact and slash. Unlock condition, defeat 5 Takubitsu Jonin. Ability 5, Doll Baryon Formation Locked Effect, the 5 dolls form a pentagonal formation, shooting a powerful laser that causes apocalyptic damage. Unlock condition, defeat 5 Jonin. Ability 6, Figure Eyes Locked Effect, by making eye contact with the target, one can control the target's soul, turning them into a puppet. The duration of control depends on the strength of both parties. Unlock condition, learn 5 control-type ninjutsu. So it was a character from Fairy Tale. Natsuki remembered that the 5 dolls Big Slow summoned had names, Pippi, Popo, Papa, Peppy, and Pupu. These 5 dolls essentially had no combat ability of their own and relied entirely on the user's control and command. From this perspective, Big Slow was no different from a Tsunagakure puppet master. Except one controlled puppets, and the other controlled dolls. Ability 1, Seath Magic Human Possession. Its effect went without saying, summoning 5 dolls. Compared to Tsunagakure puppet masters, its biggest advantage was that the dolls could be summoned infinitely. In other words, Natsuki didn't need to worry about what to do if the dolls were destroyed. Abilities 2 through 5 all involved the dolls forming formations to exert corresponding effects. Judging from the effects, there was both offense and defense. And judging from the unlock requirements, the power clearly increased from smallest to largest, with ability 5 being the most powerful. It had to be said, the unlock requirements for these 4 abilities were quite interesting. They respectively required defeating 5 Genin, Chunin, Takubutsu Jonin, and Jonin. For the current Natsuki, defeating 5 Jonin was undoubtedly quite troublesome. But on the other hand, defeating 5 Jonin overlapped with the unlock conditions of other character template abilities. For example, the Eclipse from the Kirigaya Kazuto template, or Eye of the Mind, false, and Tsubame ga Ishi from the Sasaki Kojiro template. Besides that, there was another problem. With his current strength, challenging Genin and Chunin seemed a bit shameless. Natsuki's thoughts stirred thinking of the upcoming Chunin exams. The participants in the Chunin exams would definitely all be Genin. Actually, there were many Genin whose strength had long rivaled Chunin, but he didn't know if the system counted them. But it didn't matter if it didn't. Currently in the period of the Second Shinobi World War, fulfilling the above unlock conditions wouldn't be particularly difficult. Ability 6, Figure Eyes. This was an unexpected pleasant surprise for Natsuki. His first reaction upon seeing it was that it was a low-quality version of the Sharingan. The Sharingan could also cast genjutsu through eye contact to control a target. Compared to the Sharingan, Figure Eyes lacked effects like copying and insight. But it had one advantage. The Sharingan's characteristics were very obvious. When activated, Tomo would appear. Figure Eyes didn't have that. Anyway, it was quite sneaky. Its requirement was to learn 5 control-type ninjutsu. Control-type ninjutsu usually referred to genjutsu. But besides genjutsu, there were also many other control-type ninjutsu. For example, the Nara clan's Shadow Secret Jutsu, Water Release, Water Prison Jutsu, and Earth Release, Double Suicide Decapitation Technique. Natsuki knew 2 genjutsu. One was Fox Magic from the Shippo template, and the other was the self-taught D-rank Demonic Illusion, Hell Viewing Technique. How should he put it? Learning a few control-type ninjutsu would be very helpful. After all, his teammates Noeki and Nono didn't know any control-type ninjutsu. How do you guys feel? Natsuki snapped back to reality. I'm fine. Noeki took a deep breath, having already adapted. Nono didn't speak, just shook her head. Her small face was still a bit pale, obviously still having some lingering fear. There's no other way. We can only get used to it. Natsuki reached out, rubbed her head. Nono responded. Let's talk about something happy. Noeki immediately changed the subject. Our Team 1 made a huge contribution this time. The village will definitely reward us well. Being able to capture Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law, their Team 1 indeed took the greatest merit. But as for whose merit was the greatest, it was naturally self-evident. Natsuki went all out, created a low-quality version of Unlimited Blade Works, and directly screwed over 4 puppet masters. Natsuki, what was that move you used earlier called? Noeki asked curiously. What do you mean, what is it called? Don't you know? It's Projection Magecraft. Natsuki smiled. I used it once when I fought Minato before. When Minato used the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, he had a flash of inspiration and thought of this usage. But he didn't have Broken Phantasm at the time, so the power was very average. How could it explode? Noeki continued to ask. The principle is similar to an explosive tag. Natsuki said casually. The projected swords and blades are essentially aggregates of chakra. They just need to be triggered to produce an explosion. If you can instantly release so many swords and blades, then this projection magecraft of yours could rival an S-rank ninjutsu. Noeki sighed emotionally. Yet. Natsuki nodded. I'm trying to improve it. Maybe one day in the future I can. Noeki was instantly speechless. Do you know what you're saying? Casually improving an S-rank ninjutsu, only you would dare say that. Tsunade's voice rang out. Sister, are you done over there? Seeing her, Noeki asked. I've done preliminary treatment on the wounded. The rest will have to wait until we get back to camp. Tsunade paused. Let's go. The mission is complete. Natsuki and the others nodded. The group quickly returned to the camp. Send an ANBU back to the village first to notify teacher. Tsunade thought for a moment. After treating the wounded, we will leave as soon as possible. I plan to do the same. Hitaki Sakumo agreed. His mission was to intercept Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Now, with the help of Tsunade and the others, He had overcompleted the mission, so there was no need to waste time staying here. Early the next morning, the group set off toward Konoha. But the news of Tsunagakure's puppet brigade's annihilation had already been sent back in advance. Konoha, Hokage's office. The office, usually occupied only by Sarutobi Hiruzen, was rarely lively for once. The two Hokage advisors, Yudin Koharu and Midokado Homura, and the Hokage's assistant, Shimura Denzo, had all arrived. These four people were the absolute higher UPS of Konoha, the absolute core. Did something happen on the battlefield in the Land of Rain? Denzo took the initiative to ask. It is indeed about the battlefield in the Land of Rain. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a face full of smiles. Tsunade and Sakumo captured Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law and completely annihilated Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Denzo and the other two instantly showed expressions of surprise. This is the greatest combat achievement Konoha has obtained since the war started. Midokado Homura praised. Tsunagakure must be in a terrible state right now. With Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law captured, she will definitely take action. Yudin Koharu reminded. We must have Orochimaru and Jiraiya be extra careful. I have already sent ANBU ninjas to notify them. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. With the Megakure holding them back, Tsunagakure might choose to negotiate with us. Midokado Homura pondered for a moment. It's more likely they will start a war with us. Denzo volunteered. Why not let my route go investigate the situation in Tsunagakure? With Jiraiya and Orochimaru there, it's already enough. Sarutobi Hiruzen refused. Denzo subconsciously clenched his fists, then released them. But he still hadn't given up his plan to expand route scale during the war. Tsunagakure's puppet brigade are all elites. Yudin Koharu asked curiously. How did Tsunade and Sakumo completely annihilate them? Denzo and Midokado Homura also felt confused. In terms of apparent strength, the two sides were actually about the same. Otherwise, Hatake Sakumo wouldn't have been in a stalemate with them for 2 months. This is related to Natsuki. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. Previously, when Natsuki fought Minato, he had evaluated projection magecraft as useless. He didn't expect to be slapped in the face this time. Although projection magecraft had many flaws, when prepared properly and the enemy didn't know the intel, it was indeed very lethal. It was just that such opportunities would probably not be common. If the intel was known in advance, then it would be useless. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, the three people had different expressions. Denzo's heart was filled with endless regret. Yudin Koharu and Midokado Homura were mostly emotional. After all, they had no grudge against Natsuki. It's enough that you know about this. Do not spread it. Sarutobi Hiruzen reminded them. The fewer people who knew about Natsuki's low-quality version of Unlimited Blade Works, the better. Chapter 90, Chiyo's Reaction. The Land of Rain. Tsunagakure's main camp. Cho looked at the map in front of her, lost in thought. Tsunagakure was currently at war with both Omegakure and Konoha. But their main forces were concentrated on the battlefield against Omegakure. The third Kazekage planned to deal with the weaker Omegakure first before taking on Konoha. However, they didn't expect Hanzo's poison to be so potent, dragging the war out until now. Fortunately, Tsunagakure had a large number of ninjas. If they persisted, she felt Omegakure would eventually fail. Right at that moment, a short man walked in. Ebizu. Cho turned to look at him. Why are you here? Ebizu was her younger brother. Both of them were advisors to the Kazekage in Tsunagakure and were deeply trusted by the third Kazekage. I just received some news. Ebizu said with a heavy expression. Is it bad news? Cho noticed his expression. Just say it directly. Tsuraki was captured, and the puppet brigade was almost completely wiped out. Only one ninja squad managed to escape back. Ebizu looked at Cho and said slowly. Tsuraki was Chiyo's son. The ninja squad that escaped was on another mission at the time and wasn't at that stronghold. By the time they returned, Tsunade, Hatake Sakumo, and the others had already left, leaving behind only a mess. In their terror, they fled back to Tsunagakure overnight. Hearing this, Chiyo's body trembled violently. She subconsciously took a step back. Ebizu hurriedly stepped forward and supported her. Are you telling the truth? Cho forcefully steadied her emotions. It was Tsunade. Ebizu nodded. She lured Tsuraki and the others into an ambush, and they were ultimately captured by her and Hatake Sakumo. I see. Cho instinctively pressed her forehead, feeling dizzy. Tsunade and Hitaki Sakumo, their reputations have long preceded them, especially the latter. His strength is formidable. Losing to them is not an injustice. Ebizu comforted her. Even if Lord Kazekage knows, he won't blame them. Cho responded. Moreover, Tsuruki and the others were only captured. Ebizu continued. The top priority now is to rescue them. If we just stop fighting and negotiate with Konoha, not only am I unwilling, but Lord Kazekage won't agree either. Cho said in a deep voice. The third Kazekage was known as the strongest Kazekage. He was powerful and had enough ambition. For Tsunagakure to fight for so long and gain nothing, retreating now was absolutely impossible. Moreover, the other ninjas wouldn't be willing either. The reason was simple. Tsunagakure's environment was too harsh, deserts everywhere. Since its establishment, they had always coveted the land of fire and Konoha. In fact, it was the same in the original story. In several Shinobi World wars, Tsunagakure always targeted Konoha. They even launched the Konoha Crush under Orochimaru's instigation. The ultimate reason was the poor environment. Tsunagakure was too poor. The fourth Kazekage, Raza, was forced to become a gold miner panning for gold in the desert every day to sell for money to maintain Tsunagakure's operations. Then we fight. Ebizu said decisively. I'll deal with Omegakure. You go deal with Konoha and show them your poison. Right. Chiyo's spirit lifted. Konoha definitely won't be able to decipher my poison. When the time comes, we can make them exchange Tsuruki for the antidote. Although Tsunade's fame was greater than Chiyo's in the original story, at this current stage, Chiyo's fame far exceeded Tsunade's. If Natsuki hadn't come up with the Konoha Sunin, Tsunade's fame would still be limited to Konoha. Moreover, Cho was the same age as Sarutobi Hiruzen and was Tsunade's senior. She naturally didn't believe a junior could decipher her poison, nor did she even think Tsunade's medical ninjutsu could be stronger than hers. Seeing this, Ebizu felt slightly relieved. He was worried that Tsuruki's capture would affect Cho. For now, Cho still maintained a strong mindset and hadn't collapsed because of it. I'll return to Tsunagakure immediately to discuss this matter with Lord Kazekage. Ebizu nodded slightly. Splitting their forces and increasing their efforts against Konoha was not a simple matter. It required mobilizing not only more ninjas but also more supplies. It would be difficult to put everything in place in a short time. The land of fire, Konoha. Ha ha ha. Noeki, have finally returned. Noeki laughed happily. Staying in the land of rain for half a month and getting drenched in rain for half a month, he had long been unable to stand it. Coupled with the fact that he had made a great contribution this time, he naturally couldn't control his arrogance. Tsunade glanced at him, smiled, and didn't say anything. Returning to Konoha after half a month, she was also in a very good mood, so she didn't correct Noeki's improper behavior. Sakumo, I'll have to trouble you to go report the situation of this mission to teacher. Tsunade said casually. Normally, either she or Hitaki Sakumo could go. And going would allow them to brush up their presence in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen, which was quite a good opportunity. But she didn't care about any merit, so she couldn't be bothered to fight for it. The key to the success of this mission was your squad. It's more appropriate for you to go. Hitaki Sakumo shook his head. I don't even know how you guys defeated Tsuruki's squad. If Lord Hokage asks, I won't be able to answer. Tsunade didn't care about merit, and neither did he. He was actually very similar to the samurai of the Land of Iron, strictly abiding by the rules of ninjas, not fighting for merit, just perfectly completing the mission. Perhaps because of this, he would commit suicide after a mission failure. Natsuki secretly thought that such a personality was truly not suitable to be Hokage. What a troublesome matter. Tsunade sighed inwardly. Then I'll go see teacher. Are we going to? Natsuki asked. You guys made a great contribution this time. Come with me so you can ask teacher for rewards. Tsunade waved her hand. Let's go. Let's go. Noeki said excitedly. This was his first time making such a huge contribution, and he was very looking forward to what reward he could ask for. In comparison, Nono was much quieter. The group arrived at the Hokage's office. You're back. Seeing them, Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a face full of smiles. Your mission this time gave me a huge surprise. He sent Tsunade over to repel Tsunagakure's puppet brigade, but he didn't expect the result to greatly exceed his expectations. Not only did they completely annihilate Tsunagakure's puppet brigade, but they also captured Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. Those two could be considered high-ranking members of Tsunagakure. If they didn't die, they might become Kazekage advisors when Cho and Ebizu retired. The reason we achieved so many results in this mission is mainly thanks to Natsuki. Tsunade paused and added. Noeki and Nono also performed well. Hearing this, Noeki immediately puffed out his chest, looking very proud. Tsunade helplessly raised her hand and knocked him on the head. I am very clear about your contributions. If you want anything, just ask. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled. For a peerless genius of their Hokage faction who had made a great contribution, no reward would be too much. I don't know what reward to ask for. Noeki scratched his head. As Senju Hashirama's grandson, and with Uzumaki Mito still alive, he could have whatever he wanted. Ninja tools, ninjutsu, and money he lacked nothing. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a moment and realized he truly didn't know what reward to give Noeki. Not just Noeki, but Natsuki as well. He had previously even allowed Natsuki to become a contractor of the Monkey Clan. What else could he give him now? What Sarutobi Hiruzen excelled at the most was the 5 elemental ninjutsu and combination ninjutsu. So-called combination ninjutsu referred to combining 2 or more ninjutsu and releasing them together. For example, combination ninja art, Earth Dragon Flame Stream was a combination of Fire Release, Fire Dragon Bullet and Earth Release, Earth Dragon Bullet. It was somewhat like a Kekii Genkai but not quite. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew Natsuki's talent lay not in learning ninjutsu, but in creating them. Noeki could learn them, but he hadn't even finished learning Water Release yet. Then we'll just keep it on record for now. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't think about it anymore. Come find me when you have a reward you want. I want to learn some genjutsu. Natsuki thought for a moment. That's a small matter. Just have Tsunade give them to you directly. Sarutobi Hiruzen said carelessly. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Natsuki immediately responded. Is there anything else? Tsunade yawned. After fighting for half a month and traveling for 2 days, she was already physically and mentally exhausted and just wanted to go back and lie down. There is one thing. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't mind her attitude. At the end of the month, I plan to hold a Chunin exam. You can participate. Noeki's eyes lit up, and he immediately agreed. The reason he was willing to do so many low-rank missions before was so he could participate in the Chunin exams. Moreover, a Chunin was much more prestigious than a genin. He had long wanted to stop being a genin. We will participate when the time comes. Tsunade nodded. First, because Natsuki, Noeki, and Nono's strength was already sufficient. Second, because promoting to Chunin would bring more benefits. For example, accepting higher rank missions and receiving greater rewards. In the original story, Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke being eternal genin was truly an anomaly. Especially that joint Chunin exam between Tsunagakure and Konoha, which was overly absurd. Normally, the difficulty wouldn't be that high. Later, Tsunagakure held another joint Chunin exam. The difficulty of that joint Chunin exam was very normal. Hyaganiji was promoted to Jonin, and Harano Sakura and the others were all promoted to Chunin. Furthermore, joint Chunin exams were the minority. Most were internal Chunin exams within a ninja village. This one was undoubtedly an internal Chunin exam within Konoha. After all, during the Second Shinobi World War, other ninja villages wouldn't dare come to Konoha. Especially Tsunagakure and Omegakure. With the matter concluded, the group left the Hokage's office. Nono and Noeki went back first. Natsuki followed Tsunade to the ninjutsu storage room in the Hokage building and selected 5 control-type ninjutsu. Afterward, he returned to the Konoha orphanage. As soon as he returned to his room, Natsuki used Seath magic, human possession. In an instant, 5 dolls appeared before him. These 5 dolls were like figurines from his previous life, no longer than his palm, extremely pocket-sized. Natsuki examined them carefully and found that these 5 dolls were purely inanimate objects. Empty shells. With a thought, he injected his soul into them. In an instant, he felt he shared vision with the 5 dolls and could control them. Natsuki was thoughtful. He felt these 5 dolls could also be used for infiltration and reconnaissance. Chapter 91, Kushina's teammates, the Chunin exams begin. Early morning, Natsuki and Nono arrived at Uzumaki Mito's residence. Natsuki, Nono, long time no see. Kushina smiled and waved at them. Good morning. Noeki also stopped training and greeted them. I've already heard from Noeki about your mission this time. Kushina said with a face full of envy. I wonder when I'll be able to go on a mission with you guys. There will be opportunities in the future. Natsuki thought for a moment. Kushina, I brought you a gift. What gift? Kushina subconsciously leaned in, anticipation on her pretty little face. Natsuki smelled a faint fragrance. The post-graduation Kushina, although still somewhat green, was clearly already blossoming into a beauty. Natsuki extended his hand. 5 pocket-sized dolls appeared one by one. These were precisely the dolls from the Big Slow template. So cute! Kushina exclaimed, taking the 5 dolls into her hands to examine them carefully. When did you buy these dolls? Noeki asked, confused. In the land of rain, they were busy with missions every day. Logically speaking, there was no time to buy dolls. Bought them yesterday. Natsuki paused. I also bought a set for you guys. After speaking, he summoned 2 more sets of 5 dolls. Since you're giving them to me, I'll accept them. Noeki wasn't very interested in dolls, but he couldn't refuse Natsuki's goodwill. Nono took the dolls and, like Kushina, looked at them happily. Natsuki gave them the dolls because he could control them with his soul. If they encountered danger, he could help them at a critical moment. In case they went missing or were kidnapped, he could also find them through the dolls. Is everyone here? Tsunade, having just met with Uzumaki Mito, walked out. Lady Tsunade. Kushina suddenly remembered something. Can I participate in the Chunin exams? Just now, when Noeki was telling her about the trip to the Land of Rain, he mentioned in passing that they were going to participate in the Chunin exams. With your strength, you can indeed participate in the Chunin exams. Tsunade was slightly taken aback, then said thoughtfully. The only problem is you don't have teammates. Can't I participate alone? Kushina clenched her fists and said fiercely. I can send them all flying by myself. Besides individual battles, the Chunin exams also have team battles. Tsunade thought for a moment. I'll ask teacher and see how he arranges it. Thank you, Lady Tsunade. Kushina was very happy. Participating in the Chunin exams wasn't her goal. Participating with Natsuki and the others was. And Tsunade agreed mainly because Kushina wasn't the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki yet. Since she was allowed to go to school, there was no reason to forbid her from participating in the Chunin exams. Besides, this Chunin exam only involved Konoha genin, so there wouldn't be any danger. I have a candidate in mind. Natsuki suddenly said. I met a genin named Mito while I was out running before. He wasn't lying. He indeed saw Mito while running around Konoha. Although the two had no interaction, Natsuki knew his strength very well. At the same time, he felt pity for him. In the original story, he remained a genin until his death. In comparison, Might Guy was much more normal, successfully rising to Chunin and eventually Jonin. But the reason Guy could be normal was because Mito beat the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist into the 3 auspicious treasures which earned Guy recognition. Besides Mito, Konoha had another eternal genin, Mariboshi Kasuke. He was a true veteran. Even the second Hokage, Senju Tobirama, had taught him water release. In terms of seniority, he was in the same generation as Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen wouldn't dare slight him. The reason he remained an eternal genin was because his impulsiveness caused the deaths of his teammates in his youth. This was his punishment for himself. Due to his special circumstances, Natsuki didn't recommend him. Mito was more suitable. He was still young right now, around 19 or 20, the perfect age to participate in the Chunin exams. Cases like Uzumaki Naruto and the others in the original story, participating in the Chunin exams at such a young age, were actually exceptions. After all, geniuses were always a minority. Of course, Natsuki had another reason for recommending Mito. The third stage of the Chunin exams was individual battles. He might be matched against Mito. If he defeated Mito, who possessed the 8 inner gates, would he awaken a new character template? Natsuki's Kenjutsu was very good now, but his pure Taijutsu was somewhat lacking. If he awakened a character skilled in Taijutsu, it would make up for his weakness. Mito. Tsunade recalled for a moment and found she had no impression of him. Is there anything special about him? He's a pure taijutsu ninja. Natsuki replied. There's actually a pure taijutsu ninja? Tsunade asked in surprise. How strong can a pure taijutsu ninja be? Noeka shook his head. Natsuki, don't set Kushina up for failure. I believe in Natsuki. Kushina immediately expressed her support. I choose him as my teammate. You guys train first. I'm going to see teacher. Tsunade nodded slightly. But in her heart, she was very dismissive of the might do Natsuki mentioned. However, she couldn't be blamed. At this stage, taijutsu ninjas were undoubtedly subjected to discrimination or skepticism. The reason was simple, their weaknesses were too obvious. Taijutsu ninjas were close combat fighters. Theoretically, other ninjas could kite them to death from a distance using ninjutsu. Furthermore, genjutsu ninjas were their natural counters. A single genjutsu could render them unable to resist. In short, the current ninja world advocated for ninjas to use both ninjutsu and taijutsu, prioritizing ninjutsu but never relying solely on taijutsu. Actually, this disdain was not without reason. Besides the father-son duo of Might Do and Might Guy, there were hardly any taijutsu ninjas who could be called true powerhouses. While there were plenty of powerhouse non-taijutsu ninjas. Natsuki, let me tell you some good news. After Tsunade left, Kushina said with a smile. Half a month ago, I learned the Raise Nan. Very impressive. Natsuki immediately praised. He wasn't surprised. Kushina and Nono had completed most of the Raise Nan training by the time they graduated. What? You learned it? Noeki immediately said. I have to hurry up. You're almost there too, but definitely not as fast as Nono. Natsuki chuckled. The reason Nono hadn't learned the Raise Nan yet was because she had no time. After graduating, she had been learning taijutsu. Going to the Land of Rain for missions left even less time to learn. But now that she had some free time, he estimated she would learn it this month, no, this week. As for Natsuki, he was almost there too and should be able to learn it this month. When the Raise Nan made its debut in the Chunin exams, it would surely surprise many people. Natsuki could take advantage of the situation to deepen his persona as a creator-type ninja. However, he still needed to learn 5 control-type ninjutsu. Natsuki already had targets in mind. He chose the 5 simplest control-type ninjutsu. 3 genjutsu, the D-rank demonic illusion, servant of the mist technique, and the C-rank demonic illusion, false surroundings technique and slime mind effect technique. 2 water release, the D-rank water release, water binding and the C-rank water release, water prison jutsu. Water release, water prison jutsu was a Kirigaku ninjutsu, but Konoha had it too. Natsuki chose it yesterday after seeing it in the Hokage building's ninjutsu storage room. The highest rank among these 5 control-type ninjutsu was C-rank, so they wouldn't be hard to learn. Especially since his water release chakra nature transformation was at a very high level now. He would learn these 2 water release ninjutsu in less than a month. The 3 genjutsu would take a bit longer, probably about a month. While Natsuki and the others were training, Tsunade walked into the Hokage's office. You came just in time. Seeing Tsunade, Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Tsunagakuer has made a move. What move? Did they send someone to negotiate peace with us? Tsunade raised an eyebrow. No. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. After Ebizu returned to Tsunagakuer, the village went into high gear. It seems they are preparing to launch a large-scale war against Konoha. Tsunade understood immediately. Going into high gear actually meant Tsunagakuer was preparing war supplies and mobilizing ninjas. I estimate Tsunagakuer will formally deploy troops against us next month. Sarutobi Hiruzen said in a deep voice. After the Chunin exams end, you will lead a group of ninjas to support Orochimaru and Jiraiya. Tsunade nodded. With the Second Shinobi World War dragging on to this point, she had long known that her becoming a battlefield commander was inevitable. After all, there weren't many ninjas in Konoha with the strength and status to be a battlefield commander. Excluding Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo, Yuditen Koharu, and Mito Kato Homura, only the 3 of them and Hotaki Sakumo were left. As for Hyuga Hayashi, Uchiha Fugaku, and the others, they were relatively young, under 20. Making them battlefield commanders might lead to problems. Did you come today for a specific reason? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked after finishing his arrangements. Kushina wants to participate in the Chunin exams. Tsunade nodded. If she wants to participate, that's fine. Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered for a moment and agreed. I will arrange 2 teammates for her. Natsuki recommended a teammate for Kushina, might do. Tsunade added. Might do. A subtle expression appeared on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face. Do you know him? Tsunade noticed his expression and asked curiously. Is he very strong? Why don't I have any impression of him? Geniuses were always famous. For example, Natsuki and Minato were already quite famous when they were at the Ninja Academy. But might do. Tsunade truly didn't remember such a genin. He's a pure taijutsu ninja. As for his strength, I can only say it's passable. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. It's just that his behavior is rather eccentric. Eccentric? Tsunade asked, confused. Always shouting some incomprehensible declarations about youth. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Because of this, no one is willing to team up with him. Is it that serious? Tsunade still couldn't quite understand. You'll understand when you meet him. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused. Do you still plan to let him be Kushina's teammate? This was Natsuki's recommendation, and Kushina agreed, so let him participate. Tsunade thought for a moment. Alright then. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly. I'll send someone to notify him. I'll be leaving first. If anything comes up, send the ANBU to find me. Tsunade waved her hand and headed toward the Konoha hospital. She needed to test the poison obtained from Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law. On a road at the northern edge of Konoha, a young man wearing a green jumpsuit was running on his hands. Sweat rolled down his face, dripping onto the ground and forming a trail, but he didn't care at all. Hot-blooded youth cannot admit defeat here. The young man suddenly shouted loudly. Erupt, my youth! A surge of power welled up, increasing his speed considerably. Right at that moment, a figure blocked his path, and he instinctively stopped. Are you Might Do? A masked ANBU ninja asked. I am. Might Do answered subconsciously. Lord Hokage wants you to participate in the Chunin exams at the end of the month. The ANBU ninja informed him. You will be assigned 2 teammates then. What? The Chunin exams? Might Do suddenly did a kip up and stood up. He stared intently at the ANBU ninja. His body trembled. The ANBU ninja subconsciously took a half step back. Has my youth finally been recognized by Lord Hokage? Might Do extended his hands, clenched his fists, and then tears streamed down his face as he shouted loudly. Great! It's time for my youth to blossom. The ANBU ninja watched him weeping bitterly and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. What's going on? Is there a need to be this excited about participating in a Chunin exam? He couldn't understand. After thinking for a moment, he decided to run away at the speed of light. He couldn't shake the feeling that this Might Do seemed very abnormal. May quickly drew to a close. Konoha welcomed an event of moderate importance, the Chunin exams. At 8:30 am. Natsuki and the others arrived at the Ninja Academy on time. The Chunin exams included not only practical combat but also a theory exam. The location of the theory exam was set at the Ninja Academy. Upon arriving at the school gate, Natsuki and the others saw an unexpected figure, Orochimaru. Teacher. Noeki instantly became excited and hurried forward. Why are you back? Nothing major is happening on the battlefield in the Land of Rain for now. Jiraiya staying there is enough. Orochimaru explained. It just so happens you are participating in the Chunin exams, so I came back to participate with you. Tsunade was ultimately just a substitute, not Team 1's true Jonin instructor. After becoming Team 1's Jonin instructor, he hadn't spent any time with them. Logically and emotionally, he should come back for a visit. Actually, under normal circumstances, Natsuki, Noeki, and Nono should have gone to the battlefield in the Land of Rain. But Sarutobi Hiruzen and Tsunade both felt it was too early and that they should be allowed to grow a bit more before heading to an even more dangerous battlefield. Chapter 92, Team 1, Unlocking Doll Line Formation. Then what about my sister? Noeki was slightly taken aback. I will be the temporary Jonin instructor for Kushina's squad this time. Tsunade replied. This squad only existed because Kushina wanted to participate in the Chunin exams. If it were anyone else, Sarutobi Hiruzen definitely wouldn't have allowed her to return. But who told her to be the next Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? Sarutobi Hiruzen placed great importance on the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki's feelings for the village. Allowing her to participate in the Chunin exams was undoubtedly an action to deepen her emotional bond. Then my teammates are? Kushina curiously looked at the two people behind Tsunade. One wasn't very tall, slightly older, wearing a green jumpsuit, and for some reason, his face was full of an excited expression. The other looked completely ordinary, with no special features, but was about her age. He is Might-do, skilled in taijutsu. Tsunade introduced. He is Narasazaku, skilled in shadow secret jutsu. Natsuki glanced at Narasazaku. He was also a character in the original story, though he didn't have much screen time. During the Fourth Shinobi World War, he was part of the Konoha interception squad specifically tasked with monitoring and intercepting Uzumaki Naruto. Natsuki was thoughtful. Kushina's squad actually had a very perfect composition. Except for not having a medical ninja, they had everything, even a commander. Ninjas of the Nara clan had always been very intelligent, and Narasazaku was no exception. We will escort you to the written test venue for the Chunin exams. After the pleasantries, Tsunade turned and walked into the Ninja Academy. A group of people followed her to the door of a classroom. Natsuki took a glance and found it was the Class 5A classroom. I wish you all success. Tsunade stopped and said with a smile. Don't worry. Noeka said with great confidence. Our theory exam scores are all very good. Mine are not good. Might-do said loudly. But my youth will absolutely not admit defeat. Noeki, Kushina, and Narasazaku subconsciously looked at him. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, suddenly understanding why Sarutobi Hiruzen evaluated Might-do that way. Only Orochimaru and Natsuki had calm expressions. The former due to his personality. The latter because he understood Might-do's personality. As far as I know, cheating is allowed in the written test. Natsuki paused. Provided you don't get caught. Really? Noeki asked, his face full of surprise. It is indeed true. Tsunade glanced at Natsuki. Not bad. You even gathered intel in advance. I can help Senior Doug pass. Narasazaku spoke up. Then I'll leave it to you. Kushina said immediately. Our squad cannot fall at the first hurdle. Let's go. After Natsuki finished speaking, the group walked into the written test venue for the Chunin exams. Their entrance attracted the attention of the genin already in the classroom. Is that Natsuki? Who is Natsuki? Sounds familiar. He's Lord Orochimaru's student. I didn't expect him to participate in the Chunin exams less than 3 months after graduating. So it's him. The classroom instantly became lively. Damn it. Listening to their discussion, Noeki asked unwillingly. Why are they all talking about Natsuki? Do I not have any fame at all? You still need to work hard. Natsuki smiled. Just wait and see. Noeki clenched his fists. Strange. Kushina looked around. Didn't Kei and the others participate in the Chunin exams? Is it because Lord Jiraiya hasn't returned to the village? Noeki guessed. There's still half an hour before the exam starts. They might still come. Natsuki paused. Let's find a seat first. The group went to the back of the classroom and sat in empty seats. Do you know any genin here? Kushina asked curiously. No. Noeki and Narasazaku said in unison. They had both just graduated, so naturally, they didn't know many genin. Narasazaku's 2 teammates were heavily injured in their last mission, which was why he was assigned to be Kushina's teammate. I know some. Might-do scratched his head. I used to be teammates with them, but after the missions ended, they no longer teamed up with me. Natsuki and the others exchanged glances, not knowing what to say. They all guessed some of the reasons. The reason those genin were unwilling to team up with Might-do was definitely because of his personality. Normally, isolated ninjas would be reassigned. But when Sarutobi Hiruzen made assignments, he also had to consider the bonds and teamwork between teammates. In a situation like Might-do's, where both teammates disliked him, it was very difficult to continue forming a squad. Over time, he constantly formed and changed squads. Without a fixed ninja squad, he couldn't participate in the Chunin exams, eventually becoming an eternal genin. K. Right at that moment, Kushina instinctively stood up. Because Minato, Uzumaki K and Inyazuka Suzume walked in. You're finally here. I was worried you wouldn't come. When they got close, Kushina took Kei's hand. We were delayed a bit hurrying back from the land of rain. Minato explained. You guys also went to the land of rain for missions? Noeki asked curiously. Teacher sent us to handle some paperwork missions. Most of the time was spent training. Minato nodded. That sounds boring. Noeki instantly lost interest. Your missions are indeed more interesting. Minato said with some envy. I've already heard about the total annihilation of Tsunagakure's puppet brigade. Hehe. Noeki instantly said proudly. Our team 1 took the greatest merit. The group chatted for a while, and it was 9 a.m. 3 young ninjas walked into the classroom. I am your chief examiner for the written test, Inyazuka-gaku. Inyazuka-gaku said. There is only one rule for the written test, if I catch you cheating, your score will be disqualified. The underlying meaning was that if you didn't get caught, you could cheat. Natsuki subconsciously took a couple of glances at Inyazuka-gaku. In the original story, Inyazuka-gaku and Minato were teammates. However, they were teammates during the Third Shinobi World War. It was highly likely a reorganized squad. After all, Inyazuka-gaku was much older than Minato. You can start answering the questions after receiving the exam papers. Inyazuka-gaku waved his hand, and the other 2 young ninjas began distributing the exam papers. Soon, Natsuki received his exam paper. After reading through it, he nodded slightly. A bit difficult, but not much. He looked at Noeki and Nono and found them both very calm. Kushina, Narasazaku and the others also showed no change in expression. Only Might-do staged a face-changing act. First anxiety, then his hot-blooded youth ignited, giving off a feeling of although I don't know what to do, I'm still very confident. Fortunately, Narasazaku was there. After finishing his own questions, he used the shadow imitation technique to control Might-do's shadow, thereby controlling him to complete the answers. The written test ended without the crucial 10th question from the joint Chunin exam written test in the original story. Probably because there weren't many genin participating in the Chunin exams to begin with, so there was no need to eliminate a portion of them this way. How was it? Noeki turned his head. Although the exam was over, they weren't allowed to leave and had to wait for the results before proceeding to the next exam. No problem. Minato smiled slightly. With the blessing of my teammates' youth, I will definitely pass. Might-do gave a thumbs up, revealing his snow-white teeth. Everyone was instantly speechless, feeling as if his teeth were sparkling. Not long after, Inyazuka-gaku reappeared. Holding a list, he said. The genin whose names are called will gather at the entrance of Konoha at 1 p.m. After speaking, he began to read. Soon, Natsuki heard their names. All 3 squads had passed. Woo. Hearing his name, Might-do immediately changed his face, crying loudly. I didn't let down my teammates' youth. All the genin in the classroom subconsciously looked at him. Natsuki, Noeki and the others instantly felt restless and uncomfortable. In this awkward atmosphere, the first stage of the Chunin exams, the written test, came to a close. At 1 p.m., at the entrance of Konoha. Natsuki. After Kushina arrived, she pulled Natsuki aside and asked curiously. Is the do you recommended reliable? Although she trusted Natsuki, Might-do's performance in the morning was an eye-opener and made her doubtful. Don't worry. He's definitely reliable. Natsuki coughed lightly. It's just that his behavior is somewhat different from ordinary people. Is it just somewhat? Kushina complained. But she would only say this privately to Natsuki. His strength is still quite good. Natsuki pinched her cheek. He won't disappoint you. Kushina's heart skipped a beat. She somewhat embarrassedly turned her head away and responded. Even though Natsuki used to pinch her cheek often, she vaguely felt something different now. After chatting, the 2 returned to the village entrance. The chief examiner for this exam was still Inyazuka-gaku. He announced the rules for the second exam. This exam was a team battle. Simply put, they needed to gather both heaven and earth scrolls to pass. Before the exam started, each ninja squad would randomly receive either a heaven or earth scroll. In other words, they had to fight for the other scroll. The exam venue was set in the Forest of Death. How should he put it? It was exactly the same as the rules for the second stage of the joint Chunin exams in the original story. Natsuki guessed this had always been the tradition for Konoha's Chunin exams. I'll go get the scroll. After speaking, Noeki ran up to Inyazuka-gaku. After receiving the scroll, enter the exam venue immediately. Do not communicate with other ninja squads. Inyazuka-gaku handed him a scroll and reminded him. Got it. Noeke took the scroll and walked into the forest of death with Natsuki and Nono. It's safer to put the scroll in my shadow space. Natsuki spoke up. Noeke glanced at the scroll and handed it to him. It's a heaven scroll. To pass as quickly as possible, I suggest we split up. Natsuki thought for a moment. I'll take one path, you two take the other. Once we get an earth scroll, we'll rendezvous. Sure. Noeke immediately agreed, chuckled. With you not around, I can actually perform better. Natsuki nodded. He had the same thought. After all, he needed to defeat 5 genin to unlock a big slow template ability. Being with Noeke and Nono, it wouldn't be convenient for him to fight 1 against 3. I'll have Kurobane follow you guys. Natsuki summoned Kurobane. Once you get an earth scroll, have Kurobane notify me. With Noeke and Nono's strength, even if there were only 2 of them, they wouldn't be eliminated. Unless they fought Kushina, Minato, or their squads. Besides, even if they were eliminated, as long as the heaven scroll was with him, they could still pass. After Natsuki finished speaking, he turned and walked in another direction. As he walked, he summoned the 5 dolls. After injecting his soul into them, he had them fly in all directions. Although the forest of death was large, he quickly found another ninja squad. Natsuki rapidly headed over. Without any concealment, he swaggered into their view. Natsuki. The expressions of the 3 genin changed drastically at the same time. They naturally knew Natsuki's great name very well. Wait, he's alone. The young ninja acting as the captain suddenly felt confident. Without any nonsense, Natsuki took out a wooden sword. Water breathing, third form flowing dance. A stream of water surrounded him. The wooden sword rapidly slashed 3 times. The 3 genin were sent flying. What scroll do you have? Natsuki asked, holding the sword. Heaven scroll. The young ninja answered tremblingly. Natsuki turned and left. Seeing this, the 3 genin looked at each other, all feeling as if they had survived a disaster. Natsuki quickly found a second ninja squad. After defeating them at lightning speed and learning they had a heaven scroll, he continued forward. Congratulations, host! You have unlocked Big Slow Template Ability 2, Doll Line Formation. Natsuki nodded slightly as he looked at the text appearing before his eyes. Having defeated 6 genin, he naturally met the condition. With a thought, Natsuki controlled the 5 dolls to stand in a row. In the next second, the 5 dolls lit up, and a beam of light shot out slicing a tree in front of them in half. This power was somewhere between C rank and B rank. Barely passable. Natsuki looked forward more to the remaining 3 formations. Right at that moment, the sound of tearing air rang out. Kurobane descended from the sky. Natsuki raised an eyebrow, secretly thinking he no longer needed to look for trouble with other ninja squads. Following Kurobane, he quickly found Noeke and Nono. I just fought 1 against 3 and defeated a ninja squad. Seeing Natsuki, Noeke couldn't help but show off. Very impressive. Natsuki smiled. You have the greatest merit in the second stage of the Chunin exams this time. The 3 ran toward the finish line. Upon arriving, they saw Inyazuka. Natsuki handed the heaven and earth scrolls to him. Congratulations on successfully passing the second stage of the Chunin exams. Inyazuka said with a face full of smiles. The third stage will be held in 2 days at the first training ground. Are we the first ninja squad to arrive? Noeke cared more about their ranking. You are the first. Inyazuka replied. Great. Noeke instantly became excited. Natsuki and the others didn't leave immediately but stood in place waiting. Soon, they waited until Kushina, Minato, and the others arrived. All 3 ninja squads had passed. Chapter 93, Natsuki vs. Kushina. 2 days later, at the first training ground. Unlike the joint Chunin exams in the original story, the third stage of this Chunin exam the individual battles had no audience. But there was an audience of 1, because Sarutobi Hiruzen was present. Coupled with Orochimaru and Tsunade, the quality of the audience was not low. Many participating genin became excited. As long as they performed exceptionally well in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen, they would definitely be heavily relied upon in the future. It's a pity Jiraiya isn't here. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with some regret. If he were here, it would be a rare gathering of the 4 of us, teacher and students. Once the war ends, we can naturally gather. Orochimaru said in a calm tone. True. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Who do you think will be the first place in this individual tournament? Natsuki. Orochimaru and Tsunade said in unison. It seems your opinions are very unified. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed. Teacher, do you have a different candidate? Tsunade asked in return. No. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. Unless Minato has learned the Flying Thunder God technique. Just the Flying Thunder God technique isn't enough. Tsunade looked at Minato in the distance. The effect of the Flying Thunder God technique was only instant teleportation. To perform a backstab during the teleportation required the Flying Thunder God slash. Back then, Senju Tobirama defeated Uchiha Izuna using the Flying Thunder God slash. In the original story, Minato used Flying Thunder God second step, which was the Flying Thunder God technique combined with the Raise Nan. The Flying Thunder God technique had another heaven-defying application called Flying Thunder God, Guiding Thunder. Its effect was to teleport objects or people even capable of teleporting a tailed beast ball. This was the key to why the Flying Thunder God technique could become a strategic level ninjutsu. If he can learn the Flying Thunder God technique, he can learn its other applications. Sarutobi Hiruzen, still smiling. Natsuki plus Minato happens to equal the second Hokage. After all, what Senju Tobirama excelled at most was the Flying Thunder God technique combined with self-created ninjutsu. They are them. Second granduncle is second granduncle. Tsunade shook her head. I look forward to their future. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't argue with Tsunade and nodded. Time slowly passed. It was soon 9 AM. The third stage is individual battles. It's highly likely we'll become opponents. Noeki reminded them. Don't hold back just because we're friends. Everyone just bring out their full strength. I feel my youth is already boiling. Might-do said excitedly. Let's have a battle full of youth. Noeki opened his mouth to speak but stopped, and the atmosphere instantly cooled down. Do medical ninjas get special treatment in individual battles? Uzumaki glanced at Inuzuka Suzume. I feel like individual battles are very unfair to medical ninjas. I heard my sister say that after the Chunin exams, Konoha will test the medical ninjutsu mastered by the medical ninjas. Noeki explained. Then they will be evaluated based on the medical ninjutsu they have mastered. Hearing this, Kei felt much more relieved. She was worried that Inuzuka Suzume wouldn't be able to pass the individual battles and thus wouldn't become a Chunin. Having spent this time together, they had already become good friends. Naturally, she didn't want only 2 people from a squad to become Chunin. Nono didn't need to worry too much. After all, her teacher was Tsunade. Right at that moment, Inuzuka walked to the center of the field. He was still the chief examiner for the third stage of the Chunin exams. The third stage is individual battles. The only rule is to stop when the point is made. Inuzuka paused. First round, first match, Natsuki vs Kuwano. Do your best. Kushina, Noeki, and the others all spoke up. Thank you. Natsuki walked onto the field with a calm face. His opponent, Kuwano, looked as if his parents had died. Encountering Orochimaru's student the genius among geniuses, the highly famous Natsuki in the first match, he felt he was too unlucky. The battle begins. After the two formed the seal of confrontation, Inuzuka shouted. Wind release, great breakthrough. Kuwano formed hand seals with both hands without hesitation. He opened his mouth and spat out a fierce wind. One sword style, Iai Lion's Song. Natsuki's response was very simple. He drew a wooden sword and met the fierce wind. Dazzling blade light, like a sharp sword edge, split the fierce wind in two. Kuwano only felt his vision blur before Natsuki was in front of him. Followed by a burning pain. He looked down and saw the wooden sword resting on his abdomen. If it were a real sword, it could have easily disemboweled him. Most importantly, Kuwano didn't even see Natsuki's sword strike clearly. He had just released wind release, great breakthrough, and before he could react, he was already hit by the wooden sword. The gap in strength was unimaginably large. I concede. Kuwano said, completely convinced. Natsuki nodded and put away his wooden sword. Winner, Natsuki. Inuzuka announced. Whether it was the participating genin or Sarutobi Hiruzen and the other spectators, none had much reaction to this result. After all, in their view, this was normal. The exams continued. Natsuki quickly noticed a problem. Because until the end of the first round, the 9 people from their 3 squads hadn't been matched against each other. It was a perfect evasion. Natsuki suspected there was behind-the-scenes manipulation. After all, the identities of the 9 people from their 3 squads were all extraordinary. Except for Might-do, they all came from ninja clans. By the second round, the number of people was halved. The genin who remained could be called elites among genin. It was no exaggeration to say that many of them possessed Chunin-level strength. Second round, third match, Noeke vs Inuzuka Suzume. Inuzuka Gakko shouted loudly. Because the number of people had sharply decreased, the members of their 3 squads would inevitably become opponents. Suzume, you are a medical ninja. If you can't win, just concede. As the captain, Minato immediately comforted her. He knew Noeke's strength very well. Inuzuka Suzume couldn't possibly be his match. Just show your strength. Kei followed closely. Hearing this, Noeke couldn't help but scratch his head. He felt like some kind of great demon king. But this experience was quite exhilarating. Noeke walked onto the field carrying the great sword Samehada. Inuzuka Suzume didn't concede right away. After all, she wasn't a pure medical ninja. As an Inuzuka clan ninja, she had also learned the clan's secret jutsu. Inuzuka Suzume bent down, both hands on the ground, presenting a beast-like posture. And her ninja hound also bared its fangs, ready to launch an attack at any moment. Fang passing fang. Inuzuka Suzume and her ninja hound leaped up. In an instant, 2 tornadoes crashed toward Noeke at extreme speed. But Noeke had anticipated this. When they made their move, he had already finished forming hand seals. Water release chakra transformed into a water dragon and charged out. Boom! Water splashed everywhere. The 2 violently spinning tornadoes and the water dragon formed a stalemate. Air currents continuously tumbled under the effect of chakra, spreading outward like ripples. Seeing this, Noeke formed hand seals again. Water release, water colliding wave. He clapped his hands together. A stream of water landed on the ground, followed by a water version of a tornado. Under his control, this stream of water spun and flew out. The stalemate immediately changed. When this stream of water hit the 2 tornadoes, it scattered like a waterfall. The terrifying impact force overwhelmed the 2 tornadoes. Inuzuka Suzume and her ninja hound reappeared, struggling in the water. Seeing this, Noeke immediately controlled the water flow to retreat. Inuzuka Suzume and her ninja hound landed on the ground, completely drenched, and passed out. Winner, Noeke. Inuzuka Gakko announced. After he finished speaking, 2 female medical ninjas stepped forward and took away Inuzuka Suzume and her ninja hound. Sorry. I didn't control the power well. After Noeke left the field, he said to Minato and Kei. She's fine. Minato shook his head. She just needs a change of clothes. A battle fought with all one's might requires no apologies. Might-do gave a thumbs up. This is youth. Injuries in battle are inevitable. Natsuki patted Noeke's shoulder. The later battles will probably be even more intense. Second round, 4th match, Natsuki vs Naruto. Inuzuka Gakko's words interrupted their chat. It seems my luck isn't very good. Hearing Natsuki's name, Naruto couldn't help but sigh. Well, getting eliminated early means resting early. He had completely given up any hope of winning. Even if you lose, you must lose in battle. As his teammate, Might-do enthusiastically encouraged him. You absolutely cannot let down your youth. Thank you. Naruto was stunned for a moment, then walked onto the field. Natsuki looked at him, pondering a question. Did he learn Shadow Assassin and Shadow Space? Regardless, when fighting a Naruto clan ninja, one must always pay attention to shadows. Their high intelligence often led targets into traps unknowingly. But when the gap in strength was too large, that was another story. After Natsuki finished forming the seal of confrontation, the sound of tearing wind rang out. Naruto flicked both hands. 6 Kunao headed straight for Natsuki's vital spots. Water breathing, 7th form drop ripple thrust. Natsuki drew his wooden sword and disappeared from his spot. Water flow formed circular ripples, deflecting all the Kunao. The wooden sword thrust toward Naruto along a straight line. Naruto instantly felt a piercing pain. Just as he was about to be hit, his body suddenly flattened and dove into his own shadow. It was exactly Shadow Assassin. Seeing this, Natsuki wasn't surprised. He withdrew his wooden sword, raised his left hand, and aimed at the shadow on the ground. Non-systematic magic, phantom blow. An invisible mental shockwave hit the shadow. Inside the shadow space, Naruto instantly felt dizzy. He uncontrollably dispelled Shadow Assassin and reappeared in the outside world. Natsuki casually raised his wooden sword and pressed it against his neck. A moment later, when Naruto broke free from non-systematic magic, phantom blow, he opened his eyes and saw the wooden sword in Natsuki's hand. He steadied himself, secretly thinking he had indeed lost without any power to resist. Winner, Natsuki. Inuzuka subsequently announced. As expected of the inventor of Shadow Assassin, Natsuki found the weakness at once. Minato shook his head. Using the ninjutsu created by the inventor against him naturally has no effect. Naoki smiled. Hearing this, a phrase popped into Natsuki's mind, showing off your axe skills before the master carpenter. The exams continued. The second round soon came to an end. Besides Natsuki, Naoki, Inuzuka Suzume, and Naruto, the other 5 people didn't encounter each other again and successfully advanced to the next round. There are only 8 people left in the third round, and 7 of them are from our 3 squads. Naoki scanned the area and said excitedly. We are the strongest 3 squads among our peers. Although many genin didn't participate in this Chunin exam, I agree with your statement. Kushina's lips curled up, and she said very happily. To be able to enter the third round with geniuses like you, it's truly such an honor. Maito shouted, trembling all over. Don't celebrate too early. Entering the third round doesn't mean you can become a Chunin. Seeing this, Natsuki hurriedly stopped them. Natsuki is right. Minato changed the subject. The upcoming battles can all be called fierce battles. No matter what, I have to enter the top 3. Naoki clenched his fists. Betting on the name of youth, I will become a Chunin. Maito gave a thumbs up, his teeth sparkling. He had been a genin for 7 or 8 years, and this was his first time participating in the Chunin exams. No matter what, he had to seize this opportunity. Because he didn't know if this would be the only opportunity in his life. Rest time is over. The third round will now begin. Inuzuka walked to the center of the field and shouted loudly. Third round, first match, Natsuki vs Uzumaki Kushina. What? Kushina widened her eyes. Why is my opponent Natsuki? Natsuki's mouth twitched. What kind of matchmaking system is this? Or was this arranged by Sarutobi Hiruzen? Do your best, both of you. Naoki blinked. But no matter how you listened to those words, they carried a hint of schadenfreude. Kushina subconsciously looked at Natsuki. It's a random draw. Anyone could be matched with anyone. Natsuki smiled. I haven't seen your true strength yet. This is a rare opportunity. Then we'll just spar casually. Kushina waved her hand. She couldn't bring herself to hit Natsuki hard. However, she also knew her strength was inferior to Natsuki's. Here I come. Kushina quickly charged toward Natsuki. Upon reaching him, she threw a simple punch. Natsuki twisted his body and dodged it. Golden right foot. He kicked out. Kushina twisted her wrist, her straight punch going downward, hitting his right foot. Bang! Terrifying power suddenly exploded. Visible air waves rose into the air at the point of collision. Natsuki couldn't help but take 2 steps back. How's my chakra-enhanced strength? Gaining a slight upper hand, Kushina asked with a smile. Stronger than me. Natsuki said truthfully. Again, his pure taijutsu was not strong right now. Is Kushina this strong? Maito asked with a look of surprise. He was a taijutsu ninja, so he knew very well how terrifying Kushina's chakra-enhanced strength punch just now was. Although he was Kushina's teammate, he didn't know her true strength. In the previous 2 rounds, she hadn't used chakra-enhanced strength either. Kushina is my sister's student. Naoki raised his chin slightly and said proudly. Lady Tsunade is a famous taijutsu powerhouse in Konoha. Minato agreed. To be able to encounter so many taijutsu ninjas, it's truly such an honor. Maito instantly burst into tears and snot. My youth will definitely burst forth with even more energy. Minato and the others instinctively took a half step back. Natsuki isn't using his full strength. Nono watched the battle on the field and said softly. Bang, bang, bang sounds rang out continuously. Both Natsuki and Kushina were only using taijutsu to fight. But obviously, the former appeared slightly inferior under the attacks of chakra-enhanced strength. When did Natsuki's reaction speed become so fast? Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly noticed a blind spot and asked, confused. Previously, when Natsuki used Kenjutsu, he didn't have the chance to show his reaction speed. But when brawling with Kushina, because he was at a disadvantage, he couldn't help but rely on his reaction speed to dodge. This dodging made Sarutobi Hiruzen notice the issue. It is indeed much faster than before. Orochimaru said thoughtfully. Perhaps it's because his body has developed further. This reaction speed is already comparable to Minato's. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Does he also have the talent to train in the Flying Thunder God technique? Minato was ultimately Jiraiya's student. Him learning the Flying Thunder God technique was certainly beneficial to Konoha, but he was Jiraiya's student. Natsuki was different. He was half her student, close to her, and could better represent Senju Tobirama. This is truly an unexpected pleasant surprise. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled. I had a lot of fun fighting today. A few minutes later, Kushina widened the distance and said with a smile. Natsuki, use your full strength. She naturally knew Natsuki had been playing with her all along. Natsuki nodded and took out a wooden sword. One sword style, 36-pound phoenix. Natsuki swung forcefully. A flying slash exploded in the air. Kushina immediately felt a sense of crisis she hadn't felt before. She clenched her fists and used chakra-enhanced strength again. Boom! The flying slash was smashed to pieces by chakra-enhanced strength. But this was just the beginning. Water breathing, 6th form whirlpool. Natsuki twisted his body. The wooden sword swung upward. A massive amount of water surged out, swirling like a water dragon toward Kushina. Kushina only felt her vision filled with water. She instinctively raised her right leg and stomped down hard. The ground suddenly cracked open. Countless pieces of rubble smashed toward the water flow. The two collided, stirring up a drizzle-like spray of water. Natsuki twisted his wrist. The wooden sword deflected the remaining rubble. Raise Nan. Kushina seized the opportunity and smashed her right hand toward Natsuki. Seeing this, Natsuki retreated while also using the Raise Nan with his left hand. The two Raise Nans collided and instantly exploded. Natsuki, with quick eyes and swift hands, grabbed Kushina's wrist and pulled her in front of him. Because of this, the Raise Nan didn't cause her any harm. Thank you. Kushina paused. You're still stronger. I concede. What ninjutsu is this? Seeing the Raise Nan, Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart jolted. This power was at least A rank. And most importantly, it was actually a seal-less ninjutsu. It's the Raise Nan, created by Natsuki. Tsunade said with a face full of smiles. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but tug his beard. As Natsuki's strength increased, the level of the ninjutsu he created also got higher and higher. If this continued, he would be like Senju Tobirama, having a greater and greater impact on Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen had previously said that Natsuki plus Minato would be the next Senju Tobirama. Now it seemed that whether he learned the Flying Thunder God technique or not wouldn't affect Natsuki becoming the next Senju Tobirama. Chapter 94, Namikaze Minato vs. Might Do. The appearance of the Raise Nan didn't cause much of a stir. Because Natsuki shared the Raise Nan. Besides him and Kushina, Minato, Noeki, and Nono had all learned the Raise Nan. Only Might Do, Uzumaki and the others felt surprised. But they didn't know the Raise Nan was a ninjutsu created by Natsuki. Seeing Natsuki and Kushina use the Raise Nan simultaneously, they thought it was a ninjutsu taught by Orochimaru or Tsunade. Third round, second match, Namikaze Minato vs Yakushi Nono. Inazukagaku walked to the center of the field and announced the next matchup. Don't worry about winning or losing. Just treat it as a comprehensive assessment of your taijutsu training recently. Natsuki reached out, rubbed Nono's head. Nono walked onto the field with a serious face. Although Minato felt he would win, he didn't dare underestimate her. After all, Nono's teacher was Tsunade. If he took a chakra-enhanced strength punch head-on, he would be heavily injured. The battle begins. After Inazukagaku finished speaking, he retreated to the edge of the field. Nono lunged forward, clenched her right fist, and threw a punch. This attack style looked no different from Kushina's. But that was normal. Taijutsu taught by the same teacher would naturally be similar. Minato reacted quickly, dodging the punch with a light sidestep. After creating some distance, he flicked his right hand and threw 3 kunao. Without looking at the result, Minato immediately formed hand seals with both hands. Nono locked her eyes on the 3 kunao and quickly took out 3 kunao from her pouch as well. The 6 kunao collided in midair and fell to the ground. Right at that moment, Minato had finished forming hand seals. Wind release, vacuum sphere. He took a deep breath, leaned back, and spat out a series of wind spheres. Chakra enhanced strength. The wind spheres were too fast. Nono had no time to dodge. She clenched her fists. Chakra surged out as she punched. The force tore through the air and also tore through the wind spheres. But there were too many wind spheres, forcing Nono to punch continuously. When all the wind spheres disappeared, she felt a wave of exhaustion. Minato naturally wouldn't waste time. While she was punching, he formed hand seals again. Wind release, great breakthrough. A fierce wind generated out of thin air in front of him and swept toward Nono. Although wind release, great breakthrough was a C-rank wind release, its power depended on the amount of chakra infused. In the original story, when Orochimaru used wind release, great breakthrough, he directly destroyed the surrounding trees. Nono immediately stomped her foot. Boom! The ground cracked. Under the cover of the air wave, the force sent rubble flying, forcing the fierce wind to pause. Minato flicked his hands. 6 kunao shot out under the effect of the fierce wind. Nono dodged to the left, avoiding the kunao and exiting the range of the fierce wind. She caught her breath and charged toward Minato. At the same time, she extended her hand. A surge of chakra flowed out and began spinning frantically. But her raise nan attack didn't work. Wind release, gale palm. Minato clapped his hands together. A fierce wind enveloped him. He suddenly accelerated, his body turning into a blur. Before Nono could react, he brushed past her. But Minato possessed super strong reaction speed. As he brushed past, he turned his head and threw a wooden kunao. Nono only felt a pain in her back before being hit. She stopped in her tracks, dissipated the raise nan, and conceded. After all, if that kunao wasn't made of wood, she would have been heavily injured. Nono is indeed very suitable to be your student. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction. Minato's performance was within his expectations. But Nono gave him quite a few surprises. Her talent is very good. Tsunade praised. In the original story, Nono being able to thrive en route naturally wasn't just because of her medical ninjutsu. I hope there are more and more medical ninjas like this. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. A ninja who could both fight and heal was undoubtedly what Konoha or rather the entire ninja world needed. Winner, Namikaze Minato. After Inyazuka announced the result, Minato and Nono left the field. Nono really has become much stronger. Kushina sighed emotionally. She still remembered that the previous Nono was purely a medical ninja, knowing nothing about taijutsu. Not just her. Noeka said in a deep voice. Minato has also improved a lot. He had always considered Natsuki and Minato to be his biggest threats in this Chunin exam's individual battles. Now it seemed that was indeed the case. Natsuki needed no explanation. As for Minato, judging from his performance just now, defeating him wouldn't be easy. Nono, you did very well. Natsuki met Nono's gaze and smiled. You already have teacher Tsunade's demeanor. Hearing this, a gentle smile appeared on Nono's face. Third round, third match, Noeka vs Uzumaki K. A moment later, Inyazuka spoke up. It seems To has the best luck. Noeka shook his head. I am not your match. K said with self-awareness. Youth is about going all out. Might Do waved his fists. Whether you become a Chunin depends on your performance, not winning or losing. Natsuki reminded them. In the joint Chunin exams in the original story, only Nara Shikamaru became a Chunin. But he actually lost to Tsunagakure's Temari in the third stage of individual battles. Although he conceded voluntarily. Noeki and K stepped onto the field. Besides sealing jutsu, what else has K learned? Natsuki asked curiously. His impression of K was still stuck before graduation. When she was at the Ninja Academy, she only knew sealing jutsu, the 3 basic jutsu, and some basic taijutsu. Teacher taught her fire release. Minato replied. I thought it would be taijutsu again. I didn't expect fire release. Natsuki paused. Fire release against water release elementally speaking, it will be countered. Minato nodded. Kei also knows this, which is why she feels she can't win. While the two were talking, the battle on the field officially began. Boom! A water dragon and a giant fireball collided. Steam rose, and chakra air currents swept outward. After a moment of stalemate, the water dragon tore through the fireball and flew toward Kei. Although its size had shrunk considerably, the water dragon still looked ferocious and terrifying. Kei hurriedly dodged to the side. She formed hand seals again and spat out an even larger fireball. The fireball blocked the water dragon. But Noeka's next water release ninjutsu followed immediately. Water release, water bullet technique. Noeka raised his hand. A series of water masses flew out like bullets. Kei's pupils contracted, feeling in a tight spot. She instinctively raised both hands and threw several kunai. But the kunai were quickly deflected. Kei had no time to use fire release and dodged to the left. In fact, she had only learned 2 fire release jutsu. After all, she hadn't graduated long ago. Although Kei's speed wasn't slow, she still couldn't outrun that series of water masses. Her body trembled, and she was sent flying. Seeing this, Noeka hurriedly dissipated the water release, water bullet technique. I concede. Kei said, enduring the pain in her back. After she left the field, the medical ninjas on standby walked up to her and treated her. The third round, 4th match, was also the last match. Just as Noeka said, Mito had the best luck. First, he was matched with the only genin outside of their 3 squads. Second, although this genin's strength was not bad, compared to Natsuki, Noeka, Kushina, and the others, it was very average. Ultimately, Mito won using the Konoha Whirlwind series of Taijutsu. The genin advancing to the 4th round are Natsuki, Noeka, Namikaze Minato, and Mito. Inyazuka paused. After a 15-minute break, the 4th round will begin. I didn't expect the 4 of us to be the last ones remaining. Noeka spoke up. Actually, he didn't expect Mito to be there. In his view, although Mito's taijutsu was indeed excellent, it was still somewhat lacking compared to his and Nono's chakra-enhanced strength. It could only be said that it was indeed luck. Minato and the others nodded slightly. Their thoughts were similar to Noeka's. They all felt Mito was very lucky. Natsuki smiled and didn't explain. In terms of strength, Mito was probably second only to him. Fortunately, it was Mito. If it were the more talented Might guy, he might have been able to open all 8 gates by the age of 20. At that time, even Natsuki wouldn't be able to withstand it. Both opening all 8 gates Might guy could heavily injure Uchiha Madara, almost kicking his way to the finale. But Mito could only take down 4 of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist at the cost of his life. Without a doubt, his talent was inferior. At his current age, he definitely couldn't open all 8 gates. At best, he was approaching Jonin level. Coupled with the fact that he was a pure taijutsu ninja, he was easy to counter. I have a question. Noeka looked at Mito. Why do you shout the names of your taijutsu when you fight? Natsuki raised an eyebrow, secretly thinking, good question. In the original story, all ninjas shouted the names of their ninjutsu. But after transmigrating, Natsuki discovered that no one actually shouted them. After all, shouting them out wasted time and energy, and it also alerted the enemy. Ninja battles were information battles. Actively shouting out the name of your ninjutsu wasn't that just giving intel to the enemy for free? Youth is about shouting it out. Mito gave a thumbs up. Noeka's mouth twitched. Sure enough, asking was pointless. I wonder who my opponent will be in the next match. Noeka changed the subject. Anyone is fine. Mito said excitedly. Being able to enter the 4th round, my youth is already without regrets. Noeka was instantly speechless. No wonder other genin were unwilling to team up with you. It's simply impossible to have a conversation. If he could choose, he would choose to meet Natsuki at the end. Meeting at the summit to decide the first place would be a great story. The break quickly ended, and Inyazuka walked back to the center of the field. Everyone subconsciously looked at him. 4th round, 1st match, Namikaze Minato vs Mito. Inyazuka announced loudly. Then doesn't that mean my opponent is Natsuki? Noeka instantly felt regret. It seemed he and Natsuki were destined not to meet in the final. Minato felt slightly relieved. Although in his view, it didn't matter who the opponent was, Natsuki's strength was ultimately greater than his. If he met him, he most likely wouldn't make it to the finals. The current result was the optimal solution. He would defeat Might Do, enter the finals, and then compete with Natsuki for first place. Although Minato knew he was inferior to Natsuki, he had also improved a lot recently, so he could see the gap between them. Might Do was just pure, unadulterated excitement. Entering the Chunin exams for the first time and encountering so many geniuses was simply double the happiness for him. The two stepped onto the field. Minato looked at Might Do and pondered a strategy. Without a doubt, he was a pure taijutsu ninja. Besides taijutsu, he had never used any ninjutsu. Minato thought of Nono, who he had fought earlier. To be honest, Nono gave him more pressure. After all, chakra-enhanced strength plus raised Nan could deal him a fatal blow. Konoha whirlwind. As soon as the battle started, Might Do shouted excitedly. Followed by a spinning kick aimed at Minato. When Minato heard him shout Konoha whirlwind, he already guessed what he was going to do. He took a step back, easily dodging the Konoha whirlwind. Wind release, great breakthrough. Minato unhurriedly formed hand seals. A fierce wind blew toward Might Do. Although Might Do tried to dodge, the range of the fierce wind was too wide, and he was still affected. His body was blown back several steps. But he didn't care at all and shouted. Konoha drop. Might Do stomped fiercely, his body flying into mid-air. He aimed an elbow drop at Minato's head. The immense force, combined with the impact of falling from the sky, made this elbow strike seem incredibly heavy and powerful. Minato naturally wouldn't take it head-on. After all, he wasn't a strength-type ninja. Although Might Do's speed was very fast, Minato still reacted, rolling on the ground to make the attack miss. He quickly got up and formed hand seals with both hands. Wind release, vacuum great sphere. Both being B-rank wind release ninjutsu, wind release, vacuum sphere was a series of wind spheres, while wind release, vacuum great sphere was one giant wind sphere. A visible circular fierce wind erupted instantly. Konoha strong whirlwind. Might Do twisted his body and kicked out. But in the next second, he was sent flying. He crashed heavily onto the ground, cracking the earth. And the right leg he kicked out with was already bloody and mangled. The gap between him and Minato is too large. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen commented. Do is just an ordinary taijutsu ninja, after all. Orochimaru said casually. But if he only has this level of strength, why did Natsuki recommend him? Tsunade noticed the problem. Being able to reach the fourth round means his strength is not bad. Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned for a moment. Natsuki recommending him is also reasonable. I know Natsuki. Tsunade shook her head. Orochimaru subconsciously glanced at her. He rarely heard such words from Tsunade's mouth. Then let's see if Do can bring us any surprises. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled. He felt Tsunade had misjudged. If Might Do really was that strong, why would he still be a genin almost 10 years after graduating? And in all this time, he had never shown any extraordinary qualities. After all, as Hokage, if a genius or powerhouse emerged in the village, he would be the first to know. Minato, you are truly too strong. Might Do struggled to stand up. Although he was injured, his face was still full of excitement. Seeing this, Minato was somewhat baffled. Is he still not giving up? This is youth. The expression on Might Do's face suddenly changed, and he shouted. 8 inner gates. Gate of opening, open. Gate of healing, open. Gate of life, open. In an instant, with him at the center, a powerful chakra soared into the sky. His expression was twisted and ferocious. Green chakra enveloped him like a cloak, making him look imposing. What happened? Minato's pupils couldn't help but quake. How did he suddenly become so terrifying as if he was pumped full of adrenaline? Konoha whirlwind. Might Do's body disappeared from his spot. Minato only vaguely caught a blur. At the critical moment, his reaction speed came into play. He instinctively raised his arms to block in front of him. Bang! He felt as if he had been hit by a truck. His body uncontrollably flew backward. The terrifying power left deep marks from his feet on the ground. What's going on? Noeka jumped up. How did Do suddenly become so strong? Kushina asked blankly. No, Narasazaku, K and the others were also shocked and confused. 8 inner gates? How is this possible? Sarutobi Hiruzen's body trembled. He froze completely. I didn't expect someone to actually learn the S-rank forbidden jutsu, 8 inner gates. Orochimaru said slowly. Truly unbelievable. Tsunade let out a breath. I heard that with all 8 gates open, the user's strength will not be inferior to the 5 kage. But its training conditions are simply too harsh. Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Besides needing talent, it also requires unparalleled perseverance. I originally thought no one would be able to learn it. I wonder which gate he can open up to. Tsunade looked at Mito curiously. After opening the 3rd gate, he had completely gained the upper hand. Minato wasn't naturally adept at taijutsu. But Mito's current speed was too fast, completely giving him no time to form hand seals. Raise Nan. After being knocked back again, Minato could only attempt a final counterattack. Gate of Pain, open. Sensing danger, Mito opened another gate. Green chakra surged out. Invisible air waves spread outward circle after circle. Konoha strong whirlwind. Mito directly delivered a kick. The kick, wrapped in green chakra, smashed the Raise Nan to pieces, and then sent Minato flying. Minato was thrown high into the air and then fell heavily. After kicking up a cloud of dust, he struggled a few times but ultimately remained lying on the ground. I must be under a genjutsu. Noeka said, dumbfounded. Kushina and the others were even more at a loss for words. Is this still the taijutsu ninja they remembered? Chapter 95, Natsuki defeats Mito. Winner, Mito. Inuyasukagaku was stunned for several seconds before realizing he was the chief examiner and loudly announcing the result. It couldn't be helped. The shock this battle brought him was too great. An obscure genin, nearly 20 years old and still not a chunin, could actually burst forth with near jonin level strength? And Minato, a genius among geniuses, Jiraiya's student, had no power to resist in front of him. The world was changing too fast for him to understand. Tsunade. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately said. Go check on Do's condition. The reason the 8 inner gates was classified as a forbidden jutsu was because it was too dangerous. The first 3 gates were considered the safe zone. Starting from the 4th gate, unimaginable side effects occurred, causing severe damage to the body. And opening all 8 gates came at the cost of one's life. Mito only opened 4 gates. Although it wouldn't endanger his life, there would definitely be damage. If not treated in time, it might affect his future. The previous Mito, in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, was just a genin with decent taijutsu. But now it was completely different. He already viewed Mito as a future pillar of Konoha. The reason was simple. Opening all 8 gates granted temporary cage-level power. Although it came at the cost of his life, if Konoha truly faced a life-or-death crisis, Mito could completely turn the tide of battle. Tsunade nodded and immediately walked up to Mito. After Inuyasukagaku announced his victory, he released the 8 inner gates, slumped to the ground, and looked extremely exhausted. Meanwhile, 2 other medical ninjas went to Minato to treat him. His injuries weren't severe because when Mito kicked him, the main force landed on the Raise Nan. Natsuki. Noeka snapped back to reality. Are you confident you can defeat the Do from just now? Natsuki can definitely win. Kushina snorted lightly. Although the 8 inner gates is powerful, it has a fatal flaw, the duration it can be maintained is short. Natsuki summarized. Over time, he won't be able to keep fighting himself. I see. Noeka nodded and asked again. You know a lot about the 8 inner gates. I've heard of it. Natsuki briefly introduced the 8 inner gates to them. There's actually an S-rank taijutsu. Noeka said, his face full of surprise. I thought the highest taijutsu was only A rank. But he couldn't be blamed for this. After all, the 8 inner gates hadn't appeared for a long time. The 8 inner gates was not invented by Mito. Because in the original story, Uchiha Madara once said he had heard of the 8 inner gates while he was alive. The introduction to Mito also only said he spent 20 years successfully training in the 8 inner gates, not inventing it. Right at that moment, Minato walked up to them. Minato, how are you? Natsuki asked. I'm fine. Minato shook his head. Just minor injuries. Minato, losing isn't unjustified. Noeka patted his shoulder. The 8 inner gates is an S-rank taijutsu. S-rank taijutsu? No wonder. A look of realization appeared on Minato's face. He was learning the S-rank Flying Thunder God technique himself, so he knew very well the value of an S-rank jutsu. Natsuki, did you know he learned the 8 inner gates beforehand? Minato asked curiously. Natsuki nodded and said casually. I chatted with him a bit before. You really have an eye for talent. Kushina smiled. No one in all of Konoha discovered that Dol learned the 8 inner gates. She was even happier that Natsuki recommended such a powerful might do to be her teammate. I guess it's related to his personality. Natsuki shook his head. Noeki and the others were instantly speechless. Might do's personality was indeed hard to handle. Natsuki looked at Tsunade, who was treating Might do. After this battle, Sarutobi Hiruzen would definitely pay special attention to Might do. The event in the original story where Might do fought the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist alone would most likely not happen again. After all, with Sarutobi Hiruzen's ability, he could make him play a greater role. With Konoha's support, Might do's strength might even reach a higher level. Not long after, Tsunade finished the treatment. Might do recovered somewhat and left the field. 4th round, 2nd match, Natsuki vs Noeki. Inuyasukageko shouted at the right moment. I wonder if I still have a chance to enter the top 3. Noeki shook his head. Might do's sudden emergence made him lose confidence in even reaching the top 3. If you can beat me, you can be in the top 3. Natsuki smiled. Noeki was instantly at a loss for words. Youth cannot give up easily. Might do gave a thumbs up. True. Noeki's spirit jolted. We'll only know the result after we fight. Natsuki nodded and walked onto the field with him. Because his opponent was Noeki, he didn't use a wooden sword but projected Kurosawa. Besides Noeki being stronger than his previous opponents, it was also because he used the great sword Samehada. Using a wooden sword against the great sword Samehada would be asking for trouble. One sword style, 36-pound phoenix. Natsuki took a step forward. Kurosawa in his hand swung out at high speed. The wind howled. The air current generated by the sword swing turned into a flying slash, instantly attacking Noeki. Water release, water formation wall. When Noeki saw him raise his arm, he rapidly formed hand seals. A water wall rose in front of him, blocking the flying slash. The water wall trembled violently but wasn't immediately shattered. Noeki grabbed the great sword Samehada from his back and leaped, stepping on the water wall. Water breathing, 2nd form water wheel. He descended from the sky, his body twisting like a water wheel. The great sword Samehada carried a torrent of water pouring down. The swift and fierce offense gave him an aura of moving forward with indomitable will. Seeing this, Tsunade couldn't help but nod. Water breathing, 4th form striking tide. Natsuki paused, gripped Kurosawa with both hands, and slashed out. Water flow surrounded him, eventually turning into an arc-shaped blade light along with the slash. A shrill collision sound rang out. Kurosawa and the great sword Samehada clashed fiercely. For a moment, the two swords were locked in a stalemate. But right at that moment, the great sword Samehada suddenly opened its mouth, twisted its body, and bit toward Natsuki's wrist. Its speed was fast, but Natsuki's reaction speed was faster. He quickly pulled back Kurosawa, dodging the great sword Samehada's bite. At the same time, he twisted his body. Water sprayed out. Water breathing, 6th form whirlpool. A whirlpool-like slash enveloped Noeki. Noeki immediately sensed the crisis. But in a hurry, he could only raise the great sword Samehada to block in front of him. Fortunately, the great sword Samehada was large enough and instantly blocked this slash. However, the immense force transmitted made Noeki stumble backward. Natsuki pressed forward. Kurosawa continuously swung out. For a moment, Noeki was blocking while retreating, looking very disheveled. Noeki gritted his teeth, knowing he couldn't let this continue. He twisted his wrist. The great sword Samehada flew out, its hilt extending like a chain. Samehada, flying chain slash. Natsuki stopped in his tracks and met it with a slash. The immense force made his body tremble slightly. Noeki flicked it forcefully. The great sword Samehada rose and fell like a meteor hammer, smashing heavily toward Natsuki. Natsuki narrowed his eyes. While locking onto the great sword Samehada, he stepped back and flicked his hands. 2 Kurosawas flew out, hitting the great sword Samehada. Broken phantasm. With a thought from Natsuki, the 2 Kurosawas immediately exploded. The great sword Samehada was sent flying. The powerful force traveled back along the hilt. Noeki instinctively tightened his grip on the hilt but couldn't hold on. The great sword Samehada flew out of his hands. He didn't have time to pick it up and directly formed hand seals with both hands. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. Streams of water appeared out of thin air, transforming into a giant water dragon in the blink of an eye. The water dragon roared and bit toward Natsuki. Seeing this, Natsuki took out another Kurosawa. Water breathing, 10th form constant flux. He moved. Water flow appeared with him. Natsuki burst forth at extreme speed, charging toward Noeki. Kurosawa in his hand swung out in an instant. And above his head, water gathered, also forming a water dragon. The two water dragons collided, making a muffled sound. But Noeki's water dragon was sliced in half in the next second. And Natsuki had already reached him. His arm trembled, and Kurosawa stopped abruptly. I concede. Noeki looked at Kurosawa in front of him, swallowed hard. Did Natsuki create a new kenjutsu based on water breathing again? Surprise flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. Natsuki had used water breathing, 10th form constant flux before, but he wasn't present. Jiraiya and Tsunade knew about it. The main point isn't water breathing. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. Orochimaru nodded slightly. He knew Sarutobi Hiruzen was talking about projection magecraft and broken phantasm. As Natsuki's teacher, the fact that Natsuki defeated Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law naturally wasn't hidden from him. He also knew the specifics of how they were defeated. Like Sarutobi Hiruzen, he didn't expect the inconspicuous projection magecraft to produce such massive power. It was just that its advantages and disadvantages were both very obvious. As expected, I lost again. Noeki shook his head, not feeling too bad about it. After all, he often lost to Natsuki in their usual spars. The only difference this time was that it was during the Chunin exams. With this loss, he didn't know if he could make it into the top 3. But becoming a Chunin wouldn't be a big problem. During wartime, the requirements would be lowered considerably. Don't lose to Do. Noeki picked up the great sword Samehada. That way, I'll have lost to the first place, which sounds much better. I'll try my best to fulfill your request. Natsuki chuckled. The two left the field and Kushina and the others gathered around. Finally reached the final. Minato sighed emotionally. It's just that things often develop beyond expectations. This is the unpredictable youth. Might Do said with a firm face. We can only keep moving forward. I have to say, what Do says always makes a lot of sense. Noeki couldn't help but agree. Really? Might Do asked excitedly. Then do you want to join the path of youth? No. I'm not interested in youth. Noeki was so scared he hurriedly shook his head. Seeing this, Natsuki, Kushina, and the others couldn't help but laugh. The final match of the Chunin exams, Natsuki vs Might Do. After the break ended, Inuyasukagaku walked to the center of the field and announced loudly. Now that there's Do with the 8 inner gates, do you guys still think Natsuki can get first place? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. He had asked this question before, and they all believed Natsuki would win in the end. But at that time, they didn't know Might Do had mastered the 8 inner gates. If Do can only open 4 gates, then he is not Natsuki's match. Orochimaru pondered for a moment. I've checked. Given Do's current physical condition, it's highly likely he can't open the 5th gate, and even if he could, he wouldn't be able to sustain it for more than a few seconds. Tsunade added. Let's wait and see. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded slightly and smiled. Natsuki and Might Do walked onto the field. Natsuki. Might Do said very seriously. I'm very grateful for your recommendation. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to participate in the Chunin exams. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen sent someone to notify him, he had already learned the whole story from Kushina. I recommended you because you have the strength. Natsuki replied. To repay you, let's have a hot-blooded youth showdown. Might Do roared loudly. 8 inner gates. Gate of opening, open. Gate of healing, open. Gate of life, open. Gate of pain, open. He directly opened 4 gates. Green chakra, violent like a storm at sea, swept in all directions. Natsuki felt the surging air current hitting his face. He secretly thought it was indeed astonishing. Konoha whirlwind. Might Do's body instantly appeared in front of Natsuki. That astonishing speed made Minato and the others watching only see a flash of green light. Reinforcement magecraft. Weight type magic, Gravity mitigation. Natsuki jumped back, directly dodging his kick. Minato's heart jolted. He also realized that Natsuki's reaction speed was no less than his own. What's going on now? Konoha Great Whirlwind. Might-do missed one kick and followed with another. His speed pushed to the extreme. Before Natsuki even landed, Might-do's attack was already in front of him. Fortunately, he had the reaction speed from the Kirigaya Kazuto template. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to react at all. In the world of martial arts, speed determines the winner. Applied to the ninja world, it still held true. Natsuki's overall strength was greater than Might-do's, but as soon as they engaged, he fell into a disadvantage due to speed. However, he naturally knew he couldn't let this situation continue for too long. Broken Phantasm. Natsuki threw a Kurosawa and immediately detonated it. Sensing danger, Might-do hurriedly retreated. Boom! Kurosawa exploded, but it didn't hurt Might-do. One sword style, Iai Lion's Song. Natsuki took out a new Kurosawa, flashed, and rapidly transformed into a beam of blade light speeding forward. Konoha Strong Whirlwind. After steadying his body, Might-do delivered a kick. Green chakra wrapped around his right leg, giving this strike the power to break steel. Kurosawa was kicked and trembled violently. Natsuki let go and used Broken Phantasm again. Chakra suddenly exploded. Air currents swept fragments toward Might-do. Might-do, in the state of 4 gates, had astonishing speed and hurriedly dodged to the left. This dodge widened the distance from Natsuki again. Water breathing, 10th form constant flux. Natsuki leaped up, gripping a newly projected Kurosawa with both hands. Water flowed, forming a water dragon above his head. As expected of you. Strong enough to make my youth boil again. Might-do gritted his teeth and roared. Gate of limit, open. The chakra air currents around his body surged again. But he wasn't having a good time either. His face was twisted and ferocious. Unimaginable pain spread throughout his entire body. Natsuki's heart stirred, confirming one thing. That was, Might-do didn't know Primary Lotus, Morning Peacock, Night Guy or other such taijutsu. He only knew the 8 inner gates. Simply put, brute force over technique. Thinking about it carefully, it made sense. If he knew Morning Peacock and the others, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist wouldn't have only lost 4 members. Konoha Strong Whirlwind. Might-do kicked out again. The same kick, but in the state of the 5th gate, its power had explosively increased. Bang! The water dragon was kicked to pieces. Water splashed everywhere. Natsuki couldn't help but retreat backward. He extended his left hand and grasped a second Kurosawa. Natsuki immediately steadied his body and dashed toward Might-do. Starburst Stream. Horizontal slash, dashing horizontal slash, spinning slash, parallel twin slash, alternating left and right chops, thrusts. In an instant, Natsuki, wielding twin swords, unleashed a 16-hit combo. The speed was like a violent storm. Every strike brought up chakra air currents, like continuous ocean waves, all surging toward Might-do. Might-do, in the state of 5 gates, reacted very quickly. He continuously threw punches, clashing with the twin swords, making fierce collision sounds. But he quickly realized he couldn't keep up with Natsuki's speed. Blood splattered. Might-do's entire body was sent flying backward. His arms were already covered in sword cuts. What kind of kenjutsu is this? Tsunade asked subconsciously. It's actually this fast. He swung 16 times in an instant. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Natsuki and said in admiration. Such speed reminds me of Sakumo. To be able to rival Hitaki Sakumo's speed meant that most jonin would find it very difficult to withstand this starburst stream. I haven't heard of any powerful dual blades kenjutsu users in the ninja world currently. Orochimaru said with a strange expression. This is another kenjutsu created by Natsuki. I'll go treat him first. Tsunade said, then used the body flicker technique to arrive in front of Might-do. He had already exited the 8 inner gate state by now. Coupled with his injured arms, he looked extremely severely wounded. We won! Kushina shouted happily. When did Natsuki create another new kenjutsu? Why haven't I seen him use it before? Nowake's mouth twitched, feeling that Natsuki was getting more and more monstrous. Minato felt the same way. He found that the more he learned about Natsuki's intel, the greater the gap between them became. Winner, Natsuki. Inuyasukagaku took a deep breath and announced the result. In his view, this final match was no longer a battle that should occur between Chunin but more like a Jonin exam.
Additionally, if you would like to request novels and access my Google Drive where I have 200 plus audiobooks, then you can join my Patreon. Link is also provided in the description.